Chapter 29:18. Reaching the fourth floor. Bastard, I just got the sword tip. I haven't even touched it. And you want to steal my stuff? You are so greedy. Xian Linglong was fuming, but she still took out the sword tip. However, after the sword tip appeared, Lin Ling realized that the tyrannical Song sword behind him suddenly jumped up. It seemed to be telling Lin Ling that he must get the sword tip. The tyrannical Song sword wants the sword tip? No, it's the scabbard. Lin Ling was shocked. He suddenly remembered that after he got the scabbard, the headless old man kept saying that he wanted to find his head and his sword. Could the sword tip be the sword in the scabbard? This sword tip is mine! Lin Ling roared. He was wild and unruly. He was like a meteor crashing down on the ground as he pounced on those people. Lin Ling, how dare you? Those people were furious. They never thought that Lin Ling, who had failed to break through, would dare to attack them. You are too weak. The world-swallowing beast appeared behind Lin Ling. 800,000 universe power exploded. He waved his fists and the power to move mountains and rivers. Boom! Boom! In less than the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, those people were killed by Lin Ling. Xian Linglong was stunned. She never thought that Lin Ling would be so strong. Give me the sword tip. Lin Ling walked toward her step by step. His face was cold. Heartless guy. Seeing this, Xian Linglong gritted her teeth. She could only reluctantly throw the sword tip to Lin Ling. Lin Ling carefully caught it. He looked at it carefully. The sword tip was very ordinary. It was the front part of the sword. He couldn't even see any spiritual energy. However, if he used his soul power to check, he could see a touch of sharp energy. This energy was like a demon. It was cold and gloomy. It was exactly the same as the energy emitted by the scabbard. Looks like the sword tip really did come from the scabbard. Lin Ling thought to himself. He took off the scabbard on his back and carefully placed it next to the sword point. What surprised Lin Ling was that when the sword point approached the scabbard, a cold cloud immediately floated out of the scabbard, transforming into a headless old man. This old man actually held the sword point in his hand, as if he was investigating something. Where is my sword? The headless old man's voice was very low, and he disappeared into the sword sheath along with the tip of the sword. Seeing this mysterious scene, Lin Ling was somewhat astonished. This old man was still as crazy as ever. Then he picked up the scabbard, and was surprised to find that the killing intent the scabbard emitted towards him had dimmed significantly. Looks like this headless old man wants me to find the sword for him. If I can't find it, he'll kill me. What a troublesome fellow. Lin Ling guessed as he put the tyrannical Song sword on his back again. As for Xian Linglong, she was dumbstruck as she looked at this scene. She never thought that the mysterious sword point was related to Lin Ling. So, the treasure you just obtained is actually mine. Looking at it from another angle, you still owe me a favor. Lin Ling did not explain anything as he looked at Xian Linglong with a faint smile and said, "You're shameless." Xian Linglong immediately cursed. However, she was also surprised by Lin Ling's strength. In an incense stick's worth of time, Lin Ling had taken care of several third-level martial immortal experts. This Lin Ling is still as powerful as before. Oh right, answer my question and I'll tell you a piece of news. Xian Linglong suddenly thought of something. She quickly looked at Lin Ling and said, "Let me ask you, how is your strength? Are you still in World King Realm? Are you blind? Isn't my aura of World King Realm? The reason why I can defeat them is because of the strength of my physical body. In the Black Water region, I obtained the Seawater Heart Flower." Lin Ling did not hide anything and directly said, "But isn't there a ferocious creature in the Black Water region?" Xian Linglong was startled once again. Lin Ling's physical body is comparable to a third-level martial immortal. This is too frightening. Will the ferocious creature kill people? After I left with you, I went to the Black Water region again. After I saw the ferocious creature, I discussed with it for a long time. In the end, it saw that I was easy to talk to, so it gave me the Seawater Heart Flower. Lin Ling said, "You lied to me." Xian Linglong opened her mouth wide. She had also sensed how frightening that ferocious creature was. Lin Ling was merely a human. How could he talk to it? What qualifications do you have to be lied to by me? Whether you believe it or not, you'd better tell me what you know. Lin Ling continued. Xian Linglong's eyes kept flickering. She did not know whether Lin Ling was telling the truth or not. However, she felt that it was impossible for Lin Ling to defeat that ferocious creature. Alright, since you are not weak, I will roughly explain the situation on the 4th level. First, the magnates are fighting for the essence of the Son of Heavens will in the 4th level. It is said that this is a kind of essence fragment that can turn the Son of Heavens will into the Azure Emperor's Imperial Jade Seal. There is no need to complete the task of handing over the Son of Heaven's will. The Imperial Court is currently fighting with the magnates and lacks manpower. Second, Meng Lu and I found a divine cave not long ago. There are countless treasures inside. The sword tip was obtained from the divine cave. However, there are experts who want to get their hands on the divine cave, so there is a battle there. I want you to return to the divine cave with me and help them. Xian Linglong said slowly. You actually ran away halfway and abandoned them. Meng Lu is really unlucky to know you. Hearing this, Lin Ling could not help but smile. He somewhat understood the meaning behind Xian Linglong's words. She wanted him to be her helper. What do you mean by abandoning them? Do you know which experts have gone to the divine cave? There is the Sovereign Marquis, the 181st Crown Prince of the 9 Heavens of the Green Region, and experts from the Thunder Mansion. With my strength, how do you think I can help? Hearing Lin Ling's words, Xian Linglong was like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. She jumped up and down and said, Alright, I misunderstood you. However, with your character, you would ask for help. It seems like there is someone you care about in the divine cave. Let me guess, it should be Meng Lu. You like him? Lin Ling suddenly smiled and said, Lin Ling, you can't spit out ivory from your filthy mouth. Xian Linglong's face instantly turned red. Lin Ling was shocked that this ambitious and ruthless woman would act like a little girl. Oh right, your brother is there too. Suddenly Xian Linglong said again. What? Why didn't you say so earlier? Hearing this, Lin Ling's face instantly changed. What's the use of saying so earlier? I don't even know how strong you are. If you are too weak, wouldn't you be courting death? Xian Linglong curled her lips and said, Quick, lead the way. Lin Ling could not be bothered to talk nonsense with Xian Linglong. Are you sure? You should know that there are countless experts there. If they see you, they might give up on the treasure and kill you. Xian Linglong did not expect Lin Ling to be so anxious. In her opinion, although Lin Ling was powerful, there was still a certain gap between him and experts like the Sovereign Marquis. If I ask you to lead the way, then lead the way. If your boyfriend dies, then it has nothing to do with me. Chapter 29:19. The Terrifying Crimson Pearl Sound Vine. Don't worry, as long as my brother is here, I will definitely go. Moreover, although I hate you, it doesn't mean that I hate Meng Lu and the Marquis of Sovereign Heaven. Lin Ling's voice came from the front, mixed with calmness. Xian Linglong was stunned, but her gaze quickly fell behind Lin Ling. There a person was tied up by a black vine, and that person seemed to be Luo Shaxiai. Luo Shaxiai, one of the 9 heavens of Qingzhou, was caught by Lin Ling and tied up like a dog? This scene made Xian Linglong speechless. She looked at Lin Ling with fear in her eyes. Could it be that Lin Ling's strength was still among the top of the 9 heavens? Lin Ling, you caught Luo Shaxiai? Who helped you? Xian Linglong quickly caught up with Lin Ling and asked in surprise. It's just Luo Shaxiai, do I need help? I already said, even if it's someone like the Marquis of Sovereign Heaven, I still want to meet them. Lin Ling shot forward like a meteor. He didn't even look at Xian Linglong, because he felt that Xian Linglong's words were idiotic. Before Lin Ling broke through, Luo Shaxiai could only run like a dog when he saw him, let alone after he broke through. Xian Linglong naturally didn't know what Lin Ling was thinking about her. She frowned. Lin Ling failed to break through, and she saw it with her own eyes. So, how could Lin Ling defeat Luo Shaxiai? Could it be that someone really helped him? I hope he can help, Xian Linglong said to herself. The two of them went deeper and passed through a large number of ancient trees. At this moment, a silver world appeared in front of them. It was bright and countless vines intertwined like snakes. We're here. After passing through those crimson pearl sound vines, we'll reach the divine cave. Xian Linglong stopped on a huge flower petal, her hair fluttering in the breeze. That's the divine cave? At the side, Lin Ling had his hands behind his back, calmly looking into the distance. Through the countless vines, Lin Ling saw a huge silver tree standing tall on the ground. This tree was as grand as a city, and there was a huge tree hole under the tree. So the divine cave was that tree hole. Moreover, at this moment, a mysterious silver light shone down from the top of the tree. This made Lin Ling frown. That tree was somewhat familiar to him. Lin Ling, those crimson pearl sound vines cannot be underestimated. If they hear the slightest sound, they will capture the nearby creatures. When I escaped from there before, I didn't even dare to breathe. So if we want to go back, we must be very careful. We must not awaken the vines. Xian Linglong looked at Lin Ling and said. However, she discovered that Lin Ling didn't listen to her at all. Lin Ling, did you hear that? This is not a small matter. You must not be careless. Maybe you are stronger than me, and your status in Qingzhou is higher than mine. But at least I have just experienced the crimson pearl sound vines, and know how terrifying this divine item is. At the end of her speech, Xian Linglong's voice became serious and even dignified. She was originally a heroine with great ambition. After she became dignified, she had the aura of a superior. Cut the crap. Let's go to the tree hole now. However, Lin Ling was still staring ahead. Then he said something that made Xian Linglong confused. Did you understand what I said? Xian Linglong was instantly furious, because she had kindly reminded Lin Ling. But Lin Ling didn't give her any face, and pretended to understand in front of her. She admitted that she had underestimated Lin Ling. However, she had already given him a treasure as an apology. Lin Ling, why be so stingy? However, Lin Ling didn't wait for her to say more. He took a step forward, and carried her in his arms. Then he shot forward. Lin Ling, you. Xian Linglong was dumbfounded. Lin Ling, what was he doing? Could it be that his bestial nature had suddenly erupted? Lin Ling, if you dare to mess around with me, my black warrior divine manner will not let you off. Xian Linglong shouted. Her eyes were moist because she wanted to resist, but she realized that she couldn't resist Lin Ling. The feeling that Lin Ling gave her was tyrannical and rude. Of course, after she shouted, Xian Linglong realized that Lin Ling was actually rushing toward the crimson pearl sound vines. This guy is courting death. She had warned Lin Ling earlier, but Lin Ling didn't listen. This time, Xian Linglong's face was ashen. She never imagined that she would die in the Eight Gods' heavenly palace. She was unwilling because her father had asked for the Son of Heaven's mandate for her. She had the chance to become the Azure Emperor. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. At the same time, silvery lights flickered in the sky and on the ground like fireworks. Countless vines heard the noise and shot toward Lin Ling. That kind of speed wasn't something that an early martial immortal could dodge. According to legend, the crimson pearl sound vines were used by gods to capture demon spirits in ancient times, and they had succeeded time after time, never once failing. Lin Ling, you're killing us. Xian Linglong couldn't resist being hugged by Lin Ling, but her hands weren't grabbed. Therefore, she slapped Lin Ling's face. Of course, after this slap, she calmed down, and her heart was filled with fear. Who in the Azure province didn't know about Lin Ling's fierce reputation? One wrong word, and he would annihilate a country. But now because of anger she slapped Lin Ling. This was courting death. If Lin Ling asked the third prince to take action, their black warrior divine manner would be implicated. I'm sorry. Xian Linglong hurriedly apologized, completely forgetting that they were already trapped by the crimson pearl sound vines. Shut up. However, Lin Ling's expression was solemn as he continued to look ahead, completely ignoring Xian Linglong's slap. This stunned Xian Linglong, then her mouth fell open. She noticed that Lin Ling was carrying her at a speed exceeding 15 worlds, weaving through the crimson pearl sound vines. There were several times when they were surrounded by danger, almost being entangled by the crimson pearl sound vines. But Lin Ling managed to evade them. Could it be that he wants to bring me past the crimson pearl sound vines? This lunatic. Xian Linglong noticed Lin Ling's intention, and couldn't help sucking in a breath of cold air. To pass through the crimson pearl sound vines, one only needed to make no noise. This was the safest method, but Lin Ling dashed past the crimson pearl sound vines. Wasn't this challenging the Crimson Pearl Sound Vine's limit? Watch out. While Xian Linglong was thinking, the numerous vines above her head shot out like tentacles. Their speed was so fast that Xian Linglong couldn't help but warn Huang Xiaolong. Lin Ling ignored Xian Linglong. His gaze swept over the surroundings, noticing that the area had been sealed off. These Crimson Pearl Sound Vines were indeed powerful, possessing the speed of 12 worlds. Adding on the fact that there were so many of them, it gave people the feeling that they couldn't escape even if they grew wings. There's no way out. Lin Ling shook his head. It's all your fault. I reminded you out of kindness, but you didn't listen. Xian Linglong couldn't help but complain as she looked at the silver space that was sealed off. Tears of unwillingness flowed out from her eyes. Chapter 29-20. Tit for tat. However, just as she finished speaking, Lin Ling had already moved. He actually shot towards the silver vine in front of him. The vines were like sharp blades. After Lin Ling passed through, they actually cut him apart. Lin Ling carried Xian Linglong on his shoulder. In order to protect her, his left arm kept tearing apart the Crimson Pearl Sound Vines in front of him. As a result, his entire left arm was cut apart. This time, Xian Linglong was stunned because Lin Ling could have abandoned her, but Lin Ling didn't. Moreover, in order to prevent her from being injured, Lin Ling actually used his left arm and body to resist the Crimson Pearl Sonic Vine. Rumble! With Lin Ling's brutal charge, he finally broke out of the Crimson Pearl Sound Vine's encirclement. A huge tree hole appeared in front of him. Silver light sprinkled down from the sky like the moon, enveloping the entire tree. However, just as the silver light was about to reach the ground, Lin Ling coincidentally rushed into the divine hole. Bang! Xian Linglong was immediately thrown to the ground by Lin Ling. However, she did not blame Lin Ling. Instead, she looked at Lin Ling. This was because Lin Ling's entire body was dripping with blood. His body had been cut into pieces, and even his intestines were exposed. It was a ghastly sight. Are you all right? Xian Linglong asked worriedly. I'm fine. Lin Ling looked behind him and let out a sigh of relief. Then his body shook and those wounds healed quickly. Even his broken left arm grew back. This kind of magical power made Xian Linglong sit there in a daze. She naturally knew that powerful warriors could be reborn from a drop of blood. However, this required a process. Lin Ling could recover in the blink of an eye. This was simply unheard of. Thank you for earlier, he said. I thought you were going to mess around, but it turns out you wanted to rush into the divine cave. But you were too impulsive. At first, Xian Linglong thought that Lin Ling wanted to do something to her. But now she knows that she misunderstood. You're the one who's being impulsive. Who do you think I Lin Ling am? You're just a toad-like girl. Do you think I Lin Ling would fancy you? Moreover, you are actually crying. Are you afraid that I will rape you? Why don't you look in the mirror? Lin Ling glanced at Xian Linglong and strode forward. Nothing good comes out of your filthy mouth. Xian Linglong was fuming with anger. Her gratitude towards Lin Ling disappeared instantly. That was because this Lin Ling, who had always been cold and callous, spoke too smelly. No matter what, she was still a beautiful woman. In Lin Ling's mouth, she had actually become a toad. Was he Lin Ling, a white swan? Also, you slapped me before. This you have to pay for it. In front, Lin Ling's voice floated over again. Bah! Xian Linglong cursed angrily. Of course, she still caught up with Lin Ling. She knew that this divine cave was not to be underestimated. It was very dangerous to walk alone. Can you blame me for this? I've already reminded you that if you want to pass through those silver vines, you must not make any noise. But you still swaggered through it. Do you think you're Emperor Qing? Or do you think you're a god? After catching up with Lin Ling, Xian Linglong reprimanded him. Turn around and look at the entrance of the cave. Lin Ling frowned and said disdainfully. His words made Xian Linglong stop in her tracks. She turned around and saw that the entrance of the giant tree cave was covered with a layer of mysterious silver light, like a waterfall. What's this? Xian Linglong was puzzled. This is the Silver King Ancient Tree, an excellent place for cultivation. Ancient cultivators love to cultivate in this kind of tree cave, treating it as their own cultivation dwelling. That silver light is called Nirvana Silver Netherworld Juice. It's the secreted leaves of the Silver King Ancient Tree. When the silver light shrouds the entire ancient tree, not even a celestial being can get close to it. This is also the reason why ancient cultivators love to cultivate here, because it's safe enough. Lin Ling continued walking forward, explaining slowly. But what does this have to do with us rushing over? Xian Linglong was shocked. Even she, the daughter of the Black Warrior Divine Manor, didn't know about this, yet Lin Ling knew about it. She couldn't deny that Lin Ling was indeed a genius, but Lin Ling's background was also very ordinary. His experience shouldn't be this rich. You're really stupid. Lin Ling stopped walking, frowning. If I didn't rush over, do you think we could enter when the silver light shrouds the ancient tree? How long will it take for the silver light to disappear? Can you be sure? Idiot. Ah. Xian Linglong opened her mouth wide, unable to refute. Her eyes followed Lin Ling as he walked forward. Her heart roared. No wonder Lin Ling was so impulsive. Everything he did was for a reason. And she missed out on Lin Ling, thinking that Lin Ling was going to do something beastly to her. Moreover, she actually pretended to give pointers in front of Lin Ling. Thinking of this, Xian Linglong's face flushed red. You slapped me, you have to pay for it. At the same time, Lin Ling's voice drifted over, making Xian Linglong smile bitterly and nod her head. The two of them continued walking forward through the tree cave. This tree cave was big but not deep. Walking forward, they could see the corpses of some ancient cultivators. They had passed away in a sitting posture, as if they had lived through countless years. There were some treasures scattered on the ground, but because too much time had passed, they had lost their luster. These should be the ancient cultivators of the ancient era. Xian Linglong looked at the ground, then curiously said, however, after reaching martial immortal realm, don't they have the same lifespan as the sun and moon? Why did they die of old age here? Having the same lifespan as the heavens and the earth is a relative term. After all, ancient cultivators are humans, not gods. In terms of life, they cannot compare to gods. They cannot compare to ancient species. Therefore, they can also die. It's just that their lifespan is very long. Lin Ling indifferently said. But why did they choose to die here? Xian Linglong asked again. In front of Lin Ling, she seemed to have become a student seeking knowledge. Because they wanted to become gods. Lin Ling smiled and said, all right, don't be greedy for those small things. The important matter is more important. I can already sense the great battle in the depths of the divine cave. But be careful, the opponent is very strong. Xian Linglong immediately warned. That's all there is to it. Lin Ling looked ahead. Surging battle intent was boiling. After he had reached martial immortal realm, he had always wanted to test how strong he was with his full strength. Therefore, he hoped that those experts would not disappoint him. After saying those words, he walked forward with large strides. As for Xian Linglong, it was as if this was the first time she had seen Lin Ling looking at his slender back. Her eyes were unceasingly flickering. Even now, she did not know whether Lin Ling had failed or succeeded in his breakthrough. At this moment, in the depths of the tree hole, an oppressive aura was pervading the air. All the experts were staring at the treasures in the tree hole. The most important among them was the essence of the Son of Heaven's fate. Of course, there were also many extraordinary treasures. For example, there was a fish scale heavenly halberd. It was clearly a type of extreme weapon. Moreover, on some stone tables, ancient books covered in dust were placed there. They also appeared to be rare divine techniques. The 8 gods' heavenly palace was the divine palace of the 9 prefectures. The treasures here were not only precious to the Qingzhou martial artists, they were also extremely precious to the 9 prefectures' martial artists. Chapter 29-21. A battle between gods. The essence of the Son of Heaven's fate is covered by a layer of silver light. It will take some time to get it. Let's fight against the enemies. An anxious voice sounded. Everyone looked at the top of the tree hole. There was a mysterious white flower there. The flower was huge, and there was a ray of light in the flower bud. It was said to be the essence of the Son of Heaven's fate. This secret was spread by someone not long ago. It was said that those who obtained the essence of the Son of Heaven's fate did not need to complete many tasks to obtain the Azure Emperor's Imperial Jade Seal. After the news spread, the great Azure Divine Dynasty moved. All the giants wanted to obtain the Son of Heaven's fate. They even offered generous rewards to the heroes to help. Of course, some people suspected that the news was spread by the Azure Emperor. His goal was to let the giants fight against each other, so that the Azure Emperor could reap the benefits. However, even if they knew that the news was spread by the Azure Emperor, they would not miss out on the mysterious essence of the Son of Heaven's fate. Hehe, who is the leader? Another voice rang out. It was a man in a red robe. He held a maple leaf in his hand and smelled it as he spoke. This man was called Feng Wang. He was a powerful cultivator at the 5th level of the martial immortal realm. He was an expert in the Azure and Tianzhou continents. To be able to travel freely in the 9 continents, there was no doubt about his strength. You don't have the right to ask that question. At this moment, a domineering voice sounded. A man looked forward with cold eyes. His long hair danced in the wind. He was unruly. Then I have the right. Seeing that man speak, a young man walked out with a smile. 81st Prince, you have the right. The man immediately nodded. This made the expert called Feng Wang's face turn ugly. He said indifferently, 9 heavens of the Azure continent, Sakura. Do you really think you're something? I've heard of your and Lin Ling's names. However, I also heard that your second brother Lin Ling has become a cripple. Hehe, you want to shake my heart? You're too naive. As for my second brother, you don't have to worry. I've never worried about him. You should worry about yourself. The man laughed mockingly. He was Sakura. Your second brother Lin Ling is a cripple. Soon you will be too. Feng Wang seemed to have shed all pretense of cordiality. Marquis Sovereign Marquis, 81st Prince, you really want to fight? At this moment, a man beside Indra spoke solemnly as he looked ahead. This person was 8th Lord Zhu, Red Jade Tiger of the martial gods Huangfuyu. Their side could be said to have as many experts as there were clouds. If they were to gather in Qingzhou, they would be able to shake Qingzhou. Of the other side, the Sovereign Marquis, the Thunderclap Matriarch, the Maple Monarch, and the 81st Prince. None of them were weak. Apart from them, there were also many experts from the Blue Flame Army. Every single one of them was a mid-martial immortal. Among them were the Demon Constellation C, and the Divine Dynasty's Divine Guards. Especially those Divine Guards that were over 100 meters tall. Just looking at them was enough to make one feel suffocated. Marquis Immortals. They were the guardians of the great Azure Divine Dynasty. It could be said that 1/3 of the elite experts of the 4 magnates were gathered here. If they join forces, we'll be in trouble. If they don't join forces, it'll be difficult for us to fight against the Marquis Sovereign Marquis. On Sakura's side, an old man analyzed the situation. He was Song Taizu, an existence like Mount Tai and Big Dipper in martial arts. The Taizu Divine Fist was created by him. Yes, but I don't think the Blue Flame Army will join forces casually. There are also a few people from the left minister's residence. They won't attack easily either. They're waiting to reap the benefits. Sakura secretly transmitted his voice. Their group had a big battle before and then stopped. They didn't want others to reap the benefits. So they were all wasting time, and each had their own ulterior motives. If we continue to waste time and let the magnates come, our situation will be unfavorable. We have more experts on our side. Why don't we attack? The Marquis Sovereign Marquis was also talking to the people behind him. He looked at the 81st Prince. This person was their leader. The 81st Prince was very young. He was only 20 years old, but no one dared to underestimate him. He was also the one who fought with Lin Ling for the Qing Thearka's Jade Seal at the Copper Sparrow Pavilion. The 3rd Prince should have received the news. The same goes for the 99th Prince. To prevent trouble, let's attack. Although the 81st Prince was young, he was decisive and very straightforward. God of Light. Rays of light shot out, illuminating the pitch-black cave. The 81st Prince attacked. He floated in the air and shone brightly. One of the 100 great bloodlines, the God of Light bloodline. It's said that the 81st Prince's mother was an ancient descendant. Everyone's eyes lit up. 81st Prince, let me see the strength of your 9 great heavenly gifts. Taizu Divine Fist. Seeing this, the old man beside Sakura stepped forward. A gust of ancient martial arts filled the air. and a seemingly simple punch was thrown out. But that punch contained 30% of the power of the universe. It was as if the fist ancestor attacked. Void distortion. The 81st Prince controlled the strongest Tao of space. He actually twisted the space and dodged the punch. Moreover, he kicked out with a wide-open kick. Rumble. Song Taizu's expression changed. He wanted to block, but he was too slow. He was kicked by the terrifying kick and spat out blood. His expression became dispirited. Moreover, that kick was extremely terrifying. It actually kicked a deep groove in the tree hole, as if it was a sword mark. Among the 9 great heavenly gifts of Qing province, the more low-key one is, the stronger one is. If that's the case, the 81st Prince is probably ranked 5th among the 9 great heavenly gifts. Sakura, it's up to you. Song Taizu no longer dared to fight the 81st Prince. He could only fight against the other giants. Feng Mantion. At this moment the Maple King also took action. The surrounding space became multicolored with maple leaves fluttering in the air. Time seemed to have stopped. However, after the maple leaves blew past, everything was ignited. The ancient objects were immediately turned into ashes. Only the treasures were left untouched. Great Cosmos Sword. But on Sakura's side a man attacked. The Sword of Cosmos. This was the head of the 9 great sword immortals of Qing province, the Cosmos Sword. His sword was very terrifying. It cut through the space of the Feng King and his maple leaves. Come and fight. The 2 powerhouses immediately clashed. Bone. At this moment, Sakura also attacked. He turned into a skeletal giant and waved his skeletal arms. His talent was obviously extraordinary. It was one of the 100 great bloodlines, the Nether God bloodline. There were many types of Nether God bloodlines, but they all came from the Nether realm. Sakura, I'll help you. At this moment the Nether Chi filled the air. The divine tomb appeared and buried gods and demons. Chapter 29-22. They were not qualified. Meng Lu, after the Sunbone fell, you've already become one of the 9 heavens of the Azure province. However, your position was given to you by Lin Ling. Don't you feel ashamed? Roar. An azure dragon was roaring, circling above the cave, and speaking human language. It held a lightning umbrella, and attacked Meng Lu. Azure Dragon King. You must feel good after being humiliated by me. Roar. Meng Lu also chose the Azure Dragon King as his opponent. In the huge tree hole, the strongest battlefield of the Azure province erupted. Various martial arts. One mysterious talent after another. Colorful displays. These experts and geniuses had endless pride and strength. When they clashed, it was like a battle between gods. On the other side of the tree hole, the Blue Flame Army and the Left Minister's residence did not attack. They had fewer people and naturally planned to reap the benefits. Moreover, they also saw that the essence of the Son of Heaven's fate was covered by the silver light. No one could get it now, so they were not in a hurry. As for the experts of the Imperial Court and the experts of the Imperial Court, they were fighting for other treasures. So strong, the Imperial Court is indeed full of hidden dragons and crouching tigers. Roar. However, seeing the experts of the Imperial Court moving out one after another, the people of the Left Minister's residence frowned. From the looks of the situation, the 81st Prince's side is stronger. The 81st Prince is not one of the 4 giants, but now he's helping the Imperial Court. How strange. Perhaps he and the 99th Prince have reached some agreement. The experts of the Blue Flame Army were also discussing. Thunder. Another explosion sounded. The thunder bamboo appeared, turning the cave into a pool of thunder. This was the Thunder Mother. Tiger Roar. The Red Jade Tiger and Lord 8th joined forces to fight the Thunder Mother. This old woman had a strong background. In a one-on-one battle, they were not her match. Rumble. At this moment, Sakura was brandishing his giant skeletal fist, clashing head-on with the 81st Prince's light god bloodline. The 2 of them were fighting fiercely, from the east to the west of the tree hole. Some 4th-level martial immortals who got too close were directly shaken to death by their power. This halberd is mine. At this time, Sakura suddenly let out a roar. He actually grasped that mysterious halberd in the cave. The light of the extreme weapon blossomed. and that mysterious power once again raised Sakura's strength by a notch. Not good. Seeing this, the 81st prince's expression changed slightly. Sakura wasn't weak in the first place among the 9 great heavens of Qing province. Now that he had obtained such a precious treasure, his strength had obviously surpassed him. He had to explode out with an even stronger trump card. The true god martial spirit has been unsealed, the 3rd seal. A blinding light instantly appeared, and all the martial artists in the cave were blinded. Their hearts were pounding like thunder. The 81st prince had actually unlocked the 3rd seal of the true god martial spirit. My eyes! The dazzling rays of light made Sakura let out a painful cry. Those rays of light had the power of innate talent. They could shoot people, and they could even shoot people's eyes. Sovereign Cauldron refined Qingzhou. At this time the Sovereign Marquis, who had been silent all this time, also made his move. They had more people on their side, so they temporarily suppressed the experts on Sakura's side. Seeing that Sakura had obtained such a precious treasure, and his strength had greatly increased, he had no choice but to make his move. A huge square ancient bronze cauldron suddenly appeared, as if it had been summoned from Qingzhou. After it smashed into the tree hole, it caused the entire huge ancient tree to shake. The Cauldron of Qingzhou. Legend has it that this cauldron was personally refined by the Emperor Qing, and was bestowed to the Sovereign Marquis. Everyone's expression changed drastically. They didn't expect the Sovereign Marquis to use his strongest move right away. Of course, everyone present was a godlike existence. Ordinary moves wouldn't be of much use. Rumble. A huge cauldron appeared around Sakura. The square cauldron actually surrounded him, and the lid of the cauldron was smashing down. Dream on! Sakura roared. The halberd in his hand was about to pierce through heaven and earth, causing the cauldron to creak. Even the Sovereign Marquis expression changed drastically. He and the 81st prince joined forces, but they still couldn't suppress Sakura in one move. This guy was really ferocious. Suppress for me! The Sovereign Marquis roared angrily. He jumped up and slapped the lid of the cauldron with his palm. A terrifying power of realm essence gushed out and suppressed it. Ka. Sakura's bones immediately cracked, as if they were about to shatter. Sakura! Someone roared angrily. A cloaked figure shot over like a shadow. Void, don't come over. Sensing that someone wanted to help him, Sakura also cried out in pain. The person who came was one of Grandma Wendao's people. The cloaked man Void. Space slash. At this moment, a light appeared in front of the cloaked man Void with his back facing him. With a wave of his hand, a light slash appeared, causing the cloaked man's expression to change drastically. He turned into a shadow and disappeared. Although he avoided the danger, the hood of his cloak was also cut open, revealing a cold face. This cloaked man Void was actually a woman. Moreover, she was a powerful woman. A small pawn has a small pawn's opponent. A general has a general's opponent. The person who attacked said faintly. His words were mixed with disdain. He was the 81st prince. In Qingzhou, he was the number 1 in the Tao of space. At this moment, the situation on the imperial court side was obviously getting weaker. At this moment, on the other side of the faraway tree hole, 2 figures appeared. It was Lin Ling and Xian Linglong. However, the battle in the tree hole caused their expressions to change. Especially Xian Linglong. Her face was very pale because she could not withstand the power of the battle of the gods. She would die if she got close. Not good, big brother is in danger. At this moment, Lin Ling looked ahead indifferently. It's too late. Lin Ling, let's retreat. Xian Linglong instantly analyzed the situation. She knew that even if Lin Ling came, it would be useless because there were too many experts in the battle of the gods. They are not qualified. However, Lin Ling said coldly, and his body disappeared instantly. Xian Linglong still wanted to say something, but her pupils suddenly trembled violently. Lin Ling was so fast. He probably surpassed the speed of 15 worlds. Could it be that when he rushed past the silver vines, Lin Ling did not use his full strength? At this moment, no one paid attention to the appearance of Lin Ling and Xian Linglong. The battle became even crazier. Qi Yuhu and the others were all roaring, worried about the Sakura. Thunder Sound Mother laughed. Now that the Sakura was defeated, Qi Yuhu and the others were no longer a threat. My destiny is to kill geniuses of the same age. You are the first person to die in my hands. At this moment, the 81st prince said faintly. He stepped into the sky, and the power of space gushed out from his left foot. His right foot used the power of the god of light. It made his speed seem slow, but in an instant, he arrived in front of the huge skeleton. He stretched out his right hand, and his arm had already turned into a dazzling light, like a light blade. He jumped up and faced the skeleton of the Sakura, looking at him indifferently. Sakura, before you die, what do you have to say? The 81st prince spat out a sentence. Chapter 29-23. The Clash of the Kings of the Nine Great Heavens. Lin Ling is already crippled and you're dead. You two brothers are really disappointing. However, I have to say that Lin Ling was very powerful in the past. He defeated me once, and was at least slightly more powerful than you. Of course, it was just a flash in the pan. The 81st prince said slowly. I won't die. Sakura finally opened his mouth. Hearing that, the 81st prince smiled. His smile was very relaxed. He shook his head lightly and said, I don't really believe it. Nope. After saying that, his hand slowly slashed out. The light was sharp as if it could cut through 10,000 worlds. The speed was very slow, but it caused the entire cave to fall silent. Sakura of the Nine Great Heavens of the Green State was an ambitious and ruthless character. He seemed to be low-key, but all the magnates knew that there was such a fierce person in the imperial court. He allowed the imperial court to gain a foothold in the great Azure God dynasty, and no one dared to underestimate him. But now this fierce person was about to fall. Dead? Nope, someone said coldly. However, at this moment, an arm suddenly appeared in the sky as if it came from the void. It suddenly grabbed the arm of the 81st prince. Bang! At the moment of collision, a terrifying shockwave exploded in the sky. The entire tree cave was on the verge of collapse. That's right, he won't die. Nope. A chuckle could also be heard. Everyone saw a blue-robed youth appearing beside the huge white bones of the Sakura Emperor. He was resisting the arm of the 81st prince, as if they were kings fighting. Boom, boom, boom. The two arms collided and two mysterious forces continued to collide. It was as if time had stopped. Lin Ling. Many people saw who it was and were shocked. Lin Ling's name was known to everyone in the great Azure God dynasty. He was the most monstrous genius in the Green State. His speed of growth was also the fastest in the history of the great Azure God dynasty. Didn't he fail to break through? Moreover, even if he had not failed to break through, he should not have been able to withstand the light god bloodline of the 81st prince. 81st Crown Prince's mother is an ancient remnant. Back then, Emperor Qing forcefully kidnapped her in order to obtain the power in her body. Later on, she gave birth to the 81st Crown Prince. However, the 81st Crown Prince's mother has always refused to admit that she is Emperor Qing's woman. Therefore, the 81st Crown Prince is only in name, but not in reality. He is not considered Emperor Qing's successor. That is how he became one of the 9 great heavens of Qingzhou. Someone said solemnly, if Lin Ling was the most devilish genius in Qing province, then the 80th prince would be a peerless genius, because he was only in his 20s. Lin Ling will never be able to stop the 81st prince. The experts of the Imperial Censor Dragon Court said coldly. Second brother. At the same time, Sakura also looked at the young man floating in front of him. He had previously said that he would not die, but his second brother had arrived and blocked the light blade of the 81st prince, saving him. This made him excited and happy. As for the people of the Imperial Court, they were all overjoyed. Qi Yuhu, Lord 8th, Huang Fui Dao, and the others were all smiling. It was as if they had seen the arrival of their backbone. Especially the cloaked person Su. Her expression was extremely complicated. In the past, she had saved Lin Ling twice. At that time, Lin Ling was like a junior to her. However, now Lin Ling could fight against an expert that she could not fight against. No wonder Grandma Wendao said that one should never underestimate Lin Ling. This guy was even more terrifying than Emperor Qing. Ka. At that moment, the 81st prince maintained his swinging right arm. On his arm, there was a palm pressing down, blocking his attack and preventing him from moving an inch. His eyes were looking at the young man in front of him, You're stopping me? The 81st prince spat out. In the rumors, Lin Ling had failed to break through. However, from the looks of it, even if Lin Ling had failed, his combat strength was still terrifying. You want to kill my big brother? Do you think I can't stop you? Lin Ling said as he looked down at the 81st prince from above. Lin Ling, I don't want to be your enemy. However, I have my own mission. Therefore, I must kill your big brother. Back then, I lost the battle for the Emperor Qing's Jade Seal at the Copper Sparrow Pavilion. That made me realize that you're an extraordinary person. However, this time, I'm going to win. The 81st prince's long hair danced wildly. His ferocious realm essence surged like a tide. In the past, in order to enter the Copper Sparrow Pavilion, he had suppressed his cultivation to the true god realm. After that he crazily broke through. Now he was at the 3rd level of the martial immortal realm. His combat strength was so strong that he could fight against a 6th level martial immortal. Young man, it's better to be respectful when meeting a senior. Lin Ling chuckled and spoke as well. His tone was calm. This stunned the 81st prince. Young man? However, with his age, he was indeed a young man in Lin Ling's eyes. The people from the Imperial Censor Dragon Court were furious. The son of the Emperor Qing was being called a young man by Lin Ling. Did Lin Ling think he was an old monster? Respect or not, it depends on strength. The silver light on the 81st prince's arm shone brightly, blinding everyone once again. You can't stop me. His light god innate skill also erupted, causing the tree hole to tremble, and the ancient bark continued to explode. Young man, you're still too inexperienced. What was terrifying was that the 81st prince's light god bloodline could not affect Lin Ling's eyes. Moreover, Lin Ling shouted coldly and the power of 80 realms burst out. Rumble! After the realm-swallowing beast's power burst out, a figure flew out and crashed into a tree wall in the distance. Although he was not injured, his face was filled with fear. The crowd also looked at the figure that was sent flying, and all of them fell silent. Because that was the 81st prince. This time, everyone looked at the blue-robed figure in the sky in horror. Their faces were filled with disbelief. From their point of view, even if Lin Ling did not fail to break through, he should not be a match for the 81st prince. However, in the Battle of the Kings of the Nine Heavens, Lin Ling defeated the 81st prince. He's so powerful. Lin Ling is indeed one of the 9 heavens of Qingzhou. Far away, Xian Linglong's expression was also very interesting. Her mouth was opened so wide that she could swallow a duck egg. No wonder Lin Ling was so arrogant. His strength was beyond her imagination. Then, she thought of her attitude towards Lin Ling, and could not help but laugh bitterly. Lin Ling die. At this time a roar was heard. It was like the Emperor Qing's imperial edict. In the sky, the lid of the giant cauldron smashed down on Lin Ling. Rumble! Lin Ling was smashed into the ground and sealed in the ancient bronze cauldron. The sun, moon, stars, ancient lakes, mountains, and rivers also appeared and were refined in the ancient cauldron. According to legend, this cauldron was made by the Emperor Qing on the first day of his ascension to the throne in order to suppress the 8 barren lands of Qingzhou. Therefore, the Sovereign Marquis had another title, the Sovereign Marquis. Phew! At this moment, the Sovereign Marquis was breathing heavily. His eyes were extremely serious, as if he had defeated a great enemy. Not long ago, he heard that Lin Ling had failed to break through. He was very happy, very happy. However, after seeing Lin Ling, he realized how crazy Lin Ling was. He was so fierce even after failing to break through. Could this guy be the descendant of a god? Chapter 29-24. Punch the Azure Dragon. Boom. However, just as he thought about it, a huge mouth appeared, swallowing the heavens and the earth. The lid of the cauldron exploded, and a figure shot out like a cannonball, holding the lid of the cauldron and pouncing towards the Sovereign Marquis. Is that all you've got? The lid of the huge cauldron was like a mountain. Lin Ling held it and smashed it towards the Sovereign Marquis. The Sovereign Marquis couldn't react in time. He spat out blood and was sent flying. Everyone looked at the valiant general, who had the strength to pull up mountains and rivers. They were all shocked. Lin Ling actually rushed out of the Azure Thearch's cauldron and ignored this divine item as a casual weapon to fight against the Sovereign Marquis. I always thought that there were many valiant generals in the imperial court, like Di Shirtian and the others. But now, I realized that Lin Ling is the third prince's right hand. An old man from the left minister's palace said solemnly, "General of the imperial court, Lin Ling." This voice resounded in the hearts of the magnates. It could be said that after the short confrontation, Lin Ling's status in the hearts of the magnates had risen infinitely. He was now a magnate that could not be underestimated. "Big brother, are you alright?" After sending the sovereign marquis flying, Lin Ling didn't follow up with another attack. With the lid of the ancient cauldron in his hand, he walked towards Sakura step by step, completely ignoring all the powerhouses. Bang! Along the way, he waved the lid of the ancient cauldron a few times. As if he felt that the cauldron's lid was uncomfortable, he punched out and directly smashed the lid of the ancient cauldron apart. Most importantly, everyone saw that fist didn't contain world essence power, nor did it contain universal power. It was just an extremely ordinary fist. This guy is simply a ferocious beast. At this moment, everyone was moved. The powerhouses in the tree hole didn't dare to rashly make a move. They were deeply afraid that a slight move would affect the entire situation. They didn't think that Lin Ling's arrival would cause such a huge reaction. "It's fine." Sakura recovered his true body and looked at Lin Ling excitedly. Lord 8th and the others were the same. Now they had to look up to Lin Ling. "That's great." Lin Ling smiled calmly as he looked at the treasures on the ground. Finally, his gaze fell on a few sets of books. He ignored the crowd and walked forward. He picked up the books and started reading. Not bad. Ancient Divine Book, 7th Grade Earth Divine Skill, Great Earth Technique. Which one of you is an Earth Elemental Warrior? He put away the book and looked at Lord 8th and the others. The Sovereign Marquis and the others stood in the distance, their expressions extremely ugly. They had been fighting over the treasures, but after Lin Ling arrived, he snatched the treasures and ignored them. "Your Excellency Lin Ling, give it to me," Song Taizu immediately said, letting Lin Ling throw out the ancient divine book. This divine book was left behind by an ancient martial art practitioner who had cultivated here in the past. In Qingzhou it was priceless. Unfortunately, it was of little use to Lin Ling. He threw the sets of ancient books to the people of the imperial court. During the entire process, he was indeed ignoring the people of the major powers. "Lin Ling, don't go too far. Don't you think you're too arrogant and despotic?" Sigh. It was the Azure Dragon King. He hovered on the ground, the head of the Azure Dragon rising high, as if he was looking down on the common people. Hearing this, Lin Ling slowly turned around and looked at the Azure Dragon King calmly. The Azure Dragon King also looked at him fearlessly. He opened his mouth wide, revealing his fangs. Sigh. Lin Ling suddenly laughed. In the next moment he disappeared on the spot. In midair, a vine appeared and lashed down like a whip. "Azure Dragon King, be careful." Sigh. Seeing this, the Sovereign Marquis immediately shouted. He didn't expect Lin Ling to attack just like that. "Lin Ling, you're courting death." Sigh. The Azure Dragon King also let out a furious roar. His huge dragon body swam. But when the whip landed, his bloodline seemed to be sealed, and his strength was greatly reduced. That vine was little Kunlun. The Azure Dragon King immediately panicked. Last time, he had suffered a loss from this mysterious vine. Moreover, compared to last time, this vine seemed to be even more powerful. At the same time, Lin Ling's fierce punch arrived, as if an ancient beast was roaring. "Dragon Tail! Dragon Tail!" At the crucial moment, the Azure Dragon King's huge dragon tail swung, blocking Lin Ling's sudden punch. His dragon tail could easily break through 30 worlds. However, Lin Ling's was the power of 80 worlds. Pop pop pop. Under the punch, the dragon tail seemed to have been hit by a meteor. Dragon scales splattered everywhere, and the huge dragon tail was actually smashed by the punch. Boom boom boom. Moreover, this was not the end. Lin Ling's fist was still smashing out like a meteor, entangling the Azure Dragon King, causing dust to fly everywhere. Broken tree bark also continuously fell from the cave ceiling. It was terrifying. After a dozen breaths, the rumbling finally stopped. Everyone saw that the huge Azure Dragon King, the Lord of the Four-Ringed City, was actually beaten to death by Lin Ling's fist, punching the Azure Dragon. This result was undoubtedly more terrifying than the battle between the 81st Prince and the other two. Everyone's faces were filled with shock. One must know that when one reached the strength of a magnate, it was very rare for them to die. Their vitality was extremely tenacious. However, Lin Ling used his fist to kill the Azure Dragon King in front of everyone. Of course, the Azure Dragon King must have been careless. The Azure Dragon King knew that Lin Ling was very strong, but he didn't believe that Lin Ling had the strength to kill him. In addition, the little Kunlun had caught him off guard. Even so, the Azure Dragon King was the lord of the Four-Ringed City, and his lifespan was endless. No one had ever thought that he would die here. And this was also the first powerful magnate to fall in the Battle of the Gods. Bang! At the same time, the Sovereign Marquis arrived and stood a dozen meters away from Lin Ling. He originally wanted to help the Azure Dragon King, but now he did not dare to move. His gaze was constantly flickering, and it was extremely serious. I'm arrogant, I'm domineering, so what? Bang! Lin Ling waved his fist and said calmly, as if he was talking about the most normal thing. Everyone here had a grudge with him, so Lin Ling did not need to give any face. Hearing that sentence, everyone fell silent. The terrifying scene of punching the Azure Dragon King was still circulating in their minds. Sovereign Marquis, you want to save the Azure Dragon King? You're too late. Bang! Lin Ling turned his head and looked at the Sovereign Marquis. His words made the latter clench his teeth tightly. Lin Ling was provoking him, telling him that he would kill the Azure Dragon King just like that. What could he do about it? However, the Sovereign Marquis did not dare to move. Even his breathing had become much heavier. In the distance, the 81st Prince's eyes were fixed. He had not made a move all this time, because he wanted to see Lin Ling's powerful means. Now he was sure that Lin Ling's physical body had become so terrifying that he did not look like a human at all. Instead, he looked like a species left behind from the ancient era, a mythical beast or something like that. Even a dragon is not as fierce as him. The 81st Prince muttered to himself. In fact, during the trip to the Copper Sparrow Pavilion, he already knew that Lin Ling could not be underestimated. Now he was even more certain of his guess. For a moment, the tree hole was even quieter. Lin Ling collected the treasures around him and looked at the top of the tree. There was a white bud there, and the bud contained a ray of light. It must be the Emperor's life essence. Moreover, he also saw that everyone's eyes were fixed on the Emperor's life essence. Chapter 29-25. The four magnates had arrived. This treasure is mine. Lin Ling looked at the crowd and spoke calmly, as if the treasure belonged to Lin Ling in the first place. As soon as his domineering words fell, the faces of all the experts turned ugly. Lin Ling was too arrogant. However, they were a little afraid of Lin Ling in a one-on-one battle. Unless all of them worked together, they wouldn't be able to suppress Lin Ling and the imperial dynasty. For a moment, each of them had their own ulterior motives and continued to maintain their silence. Bang, bang, bang. However, not long after, there was a sudden rumbling sound, as if the heavens and earth were collapsing. The entire tree began to sway, as if there was an expert outside the tree that was attacking the divine tree. All of them had sharp eyes and they quickly looked around. Immediately, they realized that there were many experts gathered around the divine tree. It turned out that the four magnates had arrived. The third prince of the imperial court, the 99th prince of the imperial court, the army of Blue Flame, the prime minister of the divine dynasty, Left Minister's residence, Lord Left Minister. They had brought all the experts here to attack the divine tree. Sir, they're here. Seeing this, the people in the tree hole were overjoyed. Not good, the magnates are here. It's hard to tell who will get the Emperor's life essence. Lord Eighth immediately looked worried. Judging from the current situation, Lin Ling's arrival had boosted the imperial court's prestige. They had the highest chance of obtaining the Emperor's life essence. However, if the magnate chi practitioners outside the tree rushed in, everything would be uncertain. Haha, Lin Ling, you've wasted your efforts. Another joyful voice came from the tree hole. It was Lei Ying Crone. At this moment, She was extremely proud of herself. Obviously, when she saw Lin Ling commanding the wind and clouds, she was under a lot of pressure. Now that she saw Lin Ling's plan being disrupted, she was naturally very happy. Of course, the other magnates were laughing coldly as well. It seems that you are very happy, but don't be happy too early. They may not be able to help you. However, at this time Lin Ling sneered. As soon as he said this, everyone frowned. Apparently, Mother Lane didn't believe Lin Ling's words. She shook her head and said, "Lin Ling, don't bewitch us. We won't be fooled. Indeed, you won't fall for it because you're all idiots." Lin Ling shrugged and pointed outside the tree hole. "Open your dog eyes and see if they can come in." As soon as he finished speaking, everyone looked outside the tree hole. Only then did they realize that the tree hole was enveloped by a layer of mysterious silver light. The attacks of the various experts were utterly unable to break through that layer of silver light. This time, there was no one who wasn't shocked. Even Sakura was the same. He looked at Lin Ling and said, "Second brother, what is this?" One had to know that before they entered the tree hole, there was no silver light sealing the tree hole. The sap of this tree, even the flower bud on top of the head, has been sealed by this silver light. There are no more than 5 people in Qingzhou who can break through this silver light. Lin Ling said with a faint smile, "Haha, this means that they can't come in. The essence of the Emperor's life can only appear in our group." Hearing this, Sakura couldn't help but laugh. As for Mother Lane and the others, their pupils constricted, and their expressions were unusually ugly. It was as if the treasure that they had just obtained had been snatched away by someone else. That kind of ruthlessness was indescribable. Their eyes were fixed on Lin Ling, as if it was the first time they had met Lin Ling. Because, how did Lin Ling know about this item of the 8 gods' heavenly palace? "Are you all here?" At this moment, a voice came from outside the tree hole. 99th Prince, we are here." Someone replied immediately. "Seize the essence of the Emperor's life. Imperial Censor Dragon Court will reward you handsomely." Good. After receiving the order, the experts in the tree hole knew that they had to fight for their lives. "Is Sakura here?" The voice of the 3rd prince of the Imperial Court floated in at this moment. "I'm here, and Lin Ling is here too." Sakura replied immediately, which made the 3rd prince, who was outside the tree hole, change his expression. Wasn't Lin Ling on the 3rd level? Why was he on the 4th level too? Is this guy messing around? The 3rd prince couldn't help but be angry. There was definitely going to be an earth-shattering battle in the tree hole. With Lin Ling's strength, he definitely wouldn't be able to withstand it. If he was injured, how would he explain it to Grandma Wendao? "Don't worry, this guy isn't weak." Sakura seemed to know the 3rd prince's worries and suddenly said. Then, he secretly transmitted Lin Ling's magnificent feat in the cave to the 3rd prince. It appeared in a jade token in the 3rd prince's hand. "3rd prince, you don't have to worry about me." At the same time, Lin Ling's voice floated out of the tree hole. "Lin Ling." After hearing that voice, the eyes of the 99th prince and the other magnates flickered slightly. Among them, a disdainful voice floated out. "Lin Ling? What a piece of trash. When the battle starts later, the first one to kill him will be heavily rewarded." The one who spoke was the 76th prince. When he entered the 8 gods' heavenly palace, he was played by Lin Ling, so he hated Lin Ling to the core. However, the experts in the tree hole shook their heads. Although they also wanted to kill Lin Ling wasn't someone who could be killed so easily. The 76th prince probably didn't know this at all. You should be the 76th prince. You should be the 76th prince, right? I'm sorry, but you sent someone to follow me because you wanted to be an ingrate. Unfortunately, you became a watchdog. That guy is dead now, and the 99th prince. The dragon hall you sent also died on the 3rd floor. Please, the next time you send someone to follow me, at least send someone smarter. Also Luo Shawthorn, I caught him." Lin Ling's voice floated out again. Hearing this, the faces of the magnates turned ugly. Lin Ling was too arrogant. "I underestimated you. However, you have to be careful later." The 99th prince said coldly. He also heard the message from the people in the tree hole, and knew that Lin Ling had killed the Azure Dragon King. His strength wasn't to be underestimated. Even the third prince gradually learned about what happened. While she was shocked, she also warned, Lin Ling, be careful. You must obtain the essence of the emperor's life. The imperial court will reward you handsomely. However, just as she finished speaking, the minister of the left also said, why don't the three of us work together to eliminate the imperial court in the tree hole? Then, the three of us can compete for the emperor's life. Dream on. My blue flame army will never work with you. Prime Minister, if you don't obtain the essence of the emperor's life, the person behind you will kill you. I think this is a good suggestion, because the imperial court in the tree hole is stronger. If the three magnates don't work together, the essence of the emperor's life will be taken away by them. The leaders of the magnates discussed among themselves and nodded in agreement. Moreover, they didn't try to hide anything from the third prince. The third prince's expression changed drastically when he heard this. Chapter 29-26. The War God Guards. Lin Ling, be careful. Just do your best. The third prince couldn't help much at this moment. All hope was on Lin Ling and the others. She also ordered people to attack the silver light again, but it was useless. Haha, Lin Ling, you are very arrogant. I want to see how you die later. Haha. After reaching an agreement, the 99th prince sneered. He wanted Lin Ling dead the most out of all the magnates. The minister of the left and the others also wanted Lin Ling dead, but their desire wasn't as strong as his. The situation was getting worse for the imperial court. However, at this moment a smile was heard. It was Lin Ling's voice. Facing the top experts of the great Qing divine dynasty, he was still calm. Just this bit of strength. To be honest, they are not enough for me, Lin Ling. Haha. When this voice floated out, not only inside the tree hole, but also outside the tree hole, there was complete silence. Lin Ling was so arrogant. It was undeniable that Lin Ling was indeed very powerful. He was still one of the 9 heavens of Qingzhou. However, the people in the tree hole weren't weak either. If they joined forces, how could Lin Ling win? Lin Ling, you're probably bragging. Haha, remember, whoever kills Lin Ling will be heavily rewarded. I want to see how powerful this braggart is, and how he became one of the 9 heavens of Qingzhou. After a moment of silence, the 76th prince was the first to speak. He was laughing very happily. All right, everyone listen to my orders. Kill Lin Ling first. The 99th prince also laughed. He wasn't stupid, and knew that Lin Ling was bluffing. He wanted to scare the experts in the tree hole. However, such a small trick couldn't be hidden from the emperor. This guy. The third prince frowned. Now that the imperial court was weak, she wanted to let Lin Ling appear weak. Then, after the experts obtained the emperor's life essence, she would attack at the crucial moment and catch them off guard. However, who knew that Lin Ling would be so arrogant? Wouldn't this incite public anger? Third prince, I know you're worried about me, but you're underestimating me, Lin Ling. Some things can't be judged on the surface. At this time, Lin Ling's voice floated out again, sounding calm and relaxed. If you don't look at the surface, then what do you look at? Lin Ling, things have already come to this point. Stop messing around. The third prince was speechless. She recalled Grandma Wendao's suggestion to her to acknowledge Lin Ling as her master. In the past, she was 100 times unwilling to accept this idea. Now, she was 120 times unwilling. My world is not something you can understand. Lin Ling's voice became faintly discernible, but it was mixed with a strong sense of confidence. Hearing this, the third prince slapped his forehead. He was speechless. The magnates outside the tree hole laughed out loud. Inside the tree hole, the sovereign marquis and the rest also sneered. Of course, their laughter was not very arrogant. After all, no matter how mysterious Lin Ling was, he was still one of the 9 elites. Sir, the silver light of the flower bud in the tree hole is starting to dissipate. Suddenly, one of them spoke. This voice seemed to have lit a fuse. Whether it was outside the tree hole or inside the tree hole, all the elites' faces turned serious. The battle of the gods that had been interrupted earlier had obviously started again. Attack! The 99th prince could not be bothered with Lin Ling. At this moment he waved his hand coldly. A great battle was about to break out. Inside the tree hole, the terrifying divine guards took a step forward. With a destructive force, they took the initiative to attack Lin Ling. They obviously knew that Lin Ling was the flag of the imperial dynasty. If Lin Ling was defeated, the imperial dynasty would at least lose an arm. Fight! The Sakura roared and transformed into a huge white bone giant. It was as if he was going to burst the tree hole. Big brother, all of you guard the essence of the emperor's life. Kill anyone who comes close. At this moment, Lin Ling's cold voice sounded. Everyone in the imperial dynasty was stunned. Let me fight them. Then, Lin Ling's next sentence made them gasp. Lin Ling wanted to fight these elites? Do as I say. Don't let the villains steal the essence of the emperor's life. While the Sakura and the rest were in disbelief, Lin Ling reminded them again. Okay, 8th Lord, everyone follow me. The Sakura did not agree at first, but when he thought of the years when he and Lin Ling swept through the storms in the sacred rainforest, he finally nodded. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Many figures appeared under the flower bud and stood guard there. The three magnates in the tree hole looked at the flower bud. Seeing that the silver light outside the flower bud still needed some time to recede, they were not in a hurry. Instead, they sneered at Lin Ling. Divine guards, go and kill him. Let him experience the might of the divine guards. Someone said coldly. Bang, bang, bang. The deafening sound shook the tree hole. The divine guards of the great Azure Divine Dynasty were the personal guards of the Azure Emperor. Each of them was extremely terrifying. They could kill early-stage martial immortals as easily as killing chickens and dogs. Lin Ling also moved. With the speed of 15 worlds, he rushed toward the divine guards and punched out. Bang! One of the divine guards also attacked and collided with Lin Ling. It was as if two ferocious beasts were roaring at each other. However, Lin Ling's fist was obviously stronger than the divine guards. Cracks appeared on the divine guard's arm. Boom! Boom! However, more divine guards had also arrived. They hurriedly launched divine punches that could destroy stars and shatter worlds, smashing into Lin Ling's body. Puff! Lin Ling immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. However, the more injured he was, the crazier he became. He waved his fists as if he was holding the world in his hands. Whoosh! As soon as he attacked, cracks appeared on the divine guards and they exploded. So fierce! The experts outside the tree hole stared into the tree hole through the silver light. It was the first time they had seen Lin Ling attack. They were all shocked. Was Lin Ling still human? He was simply the king of the divine guards. Lin Ling summoned the realm-devouring beast, and his rank 10 divine body descended. His ferocious aura was even more powerful. He blocked the attacks of the remaining divine guards, and even killed a few divine guards with one punch. He was so powerful. At this moment, even if they were in the enemy camp, many people had to admit that Lin Ling was indeed a genius, because no one had ever failed a breakthrough, and still had such powerful strength. Luo Shaxi was defeated by Lin Ling with one punch. It seems that it is true. 99 Crown Prince thought. Fortunately, although Lin Ling had the strength to move mountains and rivers, his future achievements were only SOSO. This made 99 Crown Prince relax. Rumble! Huge chunks of flesh fell. Lin Ling defeated the divine guards. At the same time, a cold laugh floated out. The divine guards have experienced it. They are only SOSO. Kill him. The experts who were walking over from afar also made their move. Lin Ling was too ferocious. Everyone had to work together to get rid of him. An old man from the left minister's palace made his move. A black book appeared in his hand, and he kept chanting, forming a black gas that spread out. His clothes immediately turned into nothingness, revealing his tall and sturdy body. His entire body became pitch black, and the luster was dazzling, as if he was a black diamond. God of War Scroll Invincible. Chapter 29-27. Fight against this group of heroes. Alright, the 100 Books Elder has made his move. He has an Earth Elemental innate talent, cultivated the God of War Scroll, and has 40% of the power of the universe. He has also cultivated the invincible black adamantine body. Sounds of surprise came from the crowd. The 100 Books Elder was also the great Azure Divine Dynasty's martial arts recorder. Many of the martial arts manuals in the 3 big academies came from him. Brat, you can't stop all of us by yourself. The old man maintained his punching posture as he looked at Lin Ling and said. Lin Ling's eyes flickered. This was the first time someone had dared to go head-to-head with him. This old man's martial arts were very strong. Again. Lin Ling punched again. His expression was solemn and holy, but he also revealed his ferocity. Bang, bang, bang. The two of them exchanged a few punches. Their strength was so great that it could break through a myriad of mountains. However, the old man was still unscathed. He smiled and said, I don't believe you can block many of my punches. Let me tell you, once I use this technique, I will beat my opponent into mincemeat. His voice was kind and even doting, but his words were vicious. You can try. The more Lin Ling fought, the fiercer he became. However, he discovered that the old man was simply invincible. He could not shake the old man at all. Boom! Instead, his chest was penetrated by the old man's fist, and his body flew backward. All right, everyone was immediately overjoyed. That joyful appearance was as if they had obtained a rare treasure. The old man took advantage of his victory to pursue and attack. He brandished his black Vajra fist and appeared above Lin Ling's head, smashing down like a storm. Previously, Lin Ling had smashed the Azure Dragon King to death. Now he wanted to smash Lin Ling to death. How terrifying. As expected of the Black Diamond body, I'm afraid this Lin Ling will be smashed into meat paste. Both inside and outside the tree hole, the various powerhouses exclaimed in shock. Even the 81st Prince's expression was solemn. He did not dare to take the Elder's punch lightly. He's dead. The old man punched hundreds of millions of times consecutively, creating a huge crater in the hard ground. Then he leaped up and floated in the sky, looking majestic. Looking at his fists, they were now covered in blood. This was Lin Ling's blood. Lin Ling. Outside the tree, Lord Third Prince, Prince Third Prince. Lin Ling whoosh. At that moment, a meteor shot book star Lin Ling, and Lin Ling. Lin Ling Lin Ling Li Lin. At this moment, he was covered in blood, but his battle intent was still boiling. He ferociously threw a punch at the old man. What? The elder's expression changed drastically. Lin Ling was not dead. His fists Lu Lin Dragon Lin of the Lin Bift. At that moment Lin Ling's punch arrived. However, the old man was not afraid at all because Lin Ling could not shake his black diamond body. However, Lin Ling's punch landed on the sole of his foot, and the old man's expression changed drastically. How impressive is that? So it's a cultivation technique with a loophole. Lin Ling's voice floated out at the same time. The old man's burly body seemed to deflate and started to shrink. He actually turned into an old man the size of a 6-year-old child. His cultivation technique had been broken. His God of War scroll was extremely heaven-defying. Its defense and attack were powerful, but it had a fatal flaw. It was his Achilles heel. However, ordinary people did not know about this flaw. But Lin Ling had found his Achilles heel after fighting with him. Impossible, impossible. How did you know my Achilles heel? The old man kept shaking his head. There's nothing in this world that I don't know. Lin Ling stepped forward. The injuries on his body were quickly recovering. He did not fight with the old man for nothing. His demonic eyes of all things were also searching for the old man's weakness. After all, the old man's bloodline was not strong, but his physical body was so terrifying. This was impossible. Take Lin Ling for example. His physical body was strong because he had swallowed the seawater heart flower. Everyone attack. We must save the 100 Books Elder. Seeing the childlike old man, even more experts attacked. The thunderclap mother turned into a thunderclap bamboo and attacked Lin Ling with the force of a thunderbolt. However, Lin Ling turned a blind eye to it. He rushed into the lightning pool and appeared in front of the old man. The old man kept shaking his head. No, no, don't kill me. I will beat you into a pulp. Lin Ling smiled gently. Just like the old man before, he looked calm, but his words were extremely fierce. Rumble. As soon as he finished speaking, he immediately attacked. Behind him, tens of thousands of lightning bolts attacked him, but he turned a blind eye to it. Qingzhou Divine Cauldron. Seeing this, The sovereign marquis also used his trump card. He wanted to use this opportunity to kill Lin Ling. Even the 81st prince, after thinking for a while, continuously kicked out a large number of light legs. The entire cave seemed to be about to collapse at this moment. In the end, the battle of the gods had developed into Lin Ling fighting against the gods alone. Even the experts outside the tree hole had grave expressions on their faces. Lin Ling was so fierce. Even if he died, he would be able to leave behind good words in the great Qing divine dynasty. What a terrifying person. His physical body is invincible. The 99th prince and the others also said solemnly. However, they did not feel much pressure. Although Lin Ling's defense was very strong, his future was limited, and he could not reach the Great Tao. Now that he was facing the siege of so many experts, he had a slim chance of survival. This guy is too arrogant. If he had asked Sakura and the others for help, the outcome would definitely not have been like this. The third prince also frowned and kept shaking his head. Second brother, let us help you. Sakura and the others watched as the power to destroy everything gathered on Lin Ling. They planned to give up the emperor's life essence and help Lin Ling. Don't come over. They can't touch me. However, at this moment a firm voice floated out. A figure stood up with difficulty amidst the fierce power. Below him was a pile of mud. The 100-book-old man had indeed been beaten into a pulp by Lin Ling. Can't touch you? Look at you now. You can't even stand up now. Someone shouted ferociously. He wanted to kill Lin Ling, because the current Lin Ling gave them a terrifying feeling. He was like the son of the devil god, immortal and indestructible. The others were also in a frenzy as they continued to attack Lin Ling. However, Lin Ling still stood up straight. His body was covered in blood, and the sound of bones breaking could be heard. Even the realm-devouring beast behind him had dimmed a lot. However, he still stood up straight. Is this all you've got? A disdainful voice also floated out. This undoubtedly infuriated the magnates. Lin Ling actually dared to be so stubborn in front of the joint forces of the three magnates. Get down! An expert roared and withdrew his palms. The rolling heavenly river also suppressed down. This person was a level 4 martial immortal expert, with a level 7 divine body. He was not weak at all. Too weak. However, Lin Ling still raised his head. On the surface of his body, flames finally appeared. Chapter 29-28. Famous in Qingzhou. Lin Ling, don't go too far. Everyone was infuriated, and their attacks became even more terrifying. However, the destructive power had less and less effect on Lin Ling, because the flames began to boil. You heroes, I'll fight you with all my strength. Bang! Boom! Finally, the flames exploded, and the martial immortal realm's world essence surged. Evil flame changes final change, heaven and earth change. He didn't fail to break through. He's at the first level of the martial immortal realm. My God! My God, he was already at the world king realm. And now he's at the martial immortal realm. Bang! We've all been fooled by him. Bang! The experts who attacked all changed their expressions. Outside the tree hole, there was a deathly silence. They all saw Lin Ling's ferocity, but they comforted themselves that Lin Ling would only be so in the future. But now, Lin Ling told them that it was just a warm-up, and that he was at the martial immortal realm, not the world king realm. Just a warm-up, and he can fight with all the heroes. What if he goes all out? The 76th prince's face was extremely pale, and even the 99th prince's pupils constricted, and he kept shouting in his heart, kill him, kill him. Flame coffin. Bang! Almost at the same time, the world-destroying flame coffin began to descend from the sky, and the colorful flames made the tree hole colorful. Lin Ling merged his three dantians together, and in addition to his ferocious physical body, his aura was vast and mighty. Boom! He rushed out of the attacks of the heroes, and rushed into the sky, bringing with him the roar of the sea. The scorching flames and ferocious aura fused, and his fist began to turn into a flaming fist. With a bang, a 4th-level martial immortal expert's body trembled, and he looked down, and his chest was penetrated. He roared in disbelief, You! He only said one word, and his body exploded. Heroes, it's my turn to attack. Bang! Lin Ling sneered. And as if he was stirring up the wind and clouds of the great Azure Divine Dynasty, he pounced on another person, and his fist broke through 10,000 techniques. Not to mention an early martial immortal. Even a mid-martial immortal couldn't block his fist. Rumble! At the same time, the flaming coffin in the sky smashed down. Although it only had 10% of the power of the universe, the power of the world was extremely terrifying. All the early-stage martial immortals were killed. How could this be? Both inside and outside the tree hole, there were no mid-stage martial immortals. All of them were shouting loudly as their bodies convulsed. Some of them even fell limply to the ground. They watched as Lin Ling, who was like the son of a demon god, slaughtered the top heroes of the great Azure Divine Dynasty, as if he were cutting vegetables and melons. Their hearts were shaken. Without a doubt, the great Azure Divine Dynasty had changed. The name of the imperial court Lin Ling had spread throughout Azure State. 81st Prince, it's up to you. Thunderclap Crone, and the rest were terrified. They could only look forward to the 81st Prince. One of the 100 great bloodlines, the Light God bloodline, was definitely worthy of its reputation. The 81st Prince's youthful face was solemn, extremely solemn. Among the 9 great heavens of Azure State, other than the most mysterious 4, the rest were nothing to worry about. The stronger one was only Di Shirtion, but now there was one more person, Lin Ling. He felt like he was in a dream. He was even recalling everything about Lin Ling in his mind. However, Lin Ling seemed to have been born out of thin air. He didn't have any reputation before, but once he became famous, he became unstoppable. Lin Ling, I'll fight you. The 81st Prince walked out, his whole body shining brightly as he chanted. Combine and return to the origin, righteous and righteous, evil and evil, righteous and righteous, ghostly howls towards the heavens, turbidity and light, chaos and impurity, life and death oblivion. A large amount of chi and blood spread out from the top of his head. The blood carried a dazzling light. He had pushed his talent to the peak. It was a peak divine body. This was the bloodline that his mother had left for him. The Light God bloodline, in the hierarchy of life, was superior to all living things. Just like Lin Ling, his realm-swallowing beast talent had reached the 10th grade divine body. Its life hierarchy surpassed all living things and could resist a large number of attacks. It was as if he was a peerless expert created by the gods. And the 81st Prince also had this advantage. Light Cloud Remnant Underworld. The light scattered like clouds, and the 80th Prince disappeared without a trace. Light appeared under his left foot, and space appeared under his right foot. When combined, it allowed him to reach the speed of 20 worlds. Young man, you're still too inexperienced. Lin Ling stood on the ground and looked up at the sky. He was fearless. Seeing this, many people sneered. Lin Ling probably didn't know the power of the #1 spatial user in Azure State. 9 Heavens Light God Technique, Light Break. Almost at the same time, a ray of light slashed down like lightning. Very quickly, other than the mid-stage martial immortal experts, no one else felt anything. That ray of light was like a line of life and death, slashing down on Lin Ling's head. However, a vicious aura appeared on Lin Ling's body, and a fierce light shone brightly. It was as if he had merged with the evil fire god. He moved and disappeared. The speed of 20 worlds appeared. That ray of light swept across the ground, and a bottomless ditch appeared in the ground. It was unknown how many roots of the divine tree were cut off. Young man, you're not the only one who can reach the speed of 20 worlds. Lin Ling appeared on the other side with his hands behind his back. His calm appearance shocked everyone. Even the 81st Prince was the same. He felt that Lin Ling was like his master, restraining him in every way. One must know that the speed of 20 worlds was unparalleled in the mid-stage martial immortal realm. He thought that he was the only one in Azure State who had it. But Lin Ling also had it. 81st Prince, you're one of the 9 heavens of Azure State. However, in my opinion, you're only half a genius. Lin Ling said again. He thought of the past, when he competed with the geniuses of 9 states. Compared to them, the 81st Prince was like a grain of light. Nonsense. The 81st Prince was the youngest genius in Azure State. When had he ever been humiliated like this? Moreover, Lin Ling's words were too casual. He was looking down on him. Boom! His entire body exploded, causing the tree hole to be filled with resplendent light. Countless strong practitioners were blinded by the dazzling light. Only those outside the tree hole could see that the 81st prince had transformed into countless doppelgangers and was charging towards Lin Ling at the speed of 20 worlds. With such strength, not to mention an azure state, even in 9 states, he would be able to move freely without fear. If I don't show you how powerful I am, you won't know what it means to be an expert. Lin Ling looked around with his 10,000 elephant demonic eyes. The 81st prince was only at the 3rd level of the martial immortal realm. Although his strength was very strong, as long as he was at the 3rd level of the martial immortal realm, Lin Ling was not afraid. Boom! The roar of the sea was heard, as if 10,000 seas were surging. However, there were flames that soared into the sky and surged. The sea and flames were originally opposites. However, at that moment, they appeared perfectly on Lin Ling's body. Facing the attack of the 81st prince, he merged his 3 dantians, and his world essence surged. Boom! He punched towards the south. Light exploded and darkness appeared. What? Even light can be destroyed. The experts outside the tree hole all shuddered. Lin Ling's method was very simple. It was just his fist. However, it was incomparably powerful. No one could understand why it was like this. Boom! Another punch. An array of light was immediately torn apart. Boom! 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 Lin Ling destroyed the clones one after another. In terms of speed, he was not inferior to the 81st prince. In terms of talent, he was not weak either. In terms of combat strength, his world essence was more powerful than the 81st prince's. Chapter 29-29. No one dared to fight. 81st Prince, let me help you. Those below the middle martial immortal realm were not qualified to join the battle. Therefore, those who attacked were all middle martial immortal realm experts. Win song time. It was an elegant man. He leaped high into the air and sang towards the sky. Hateful parting. A sorrowful melody filled the air, and the entire universe moved. This was actually 50% of the power of the universe, and it was terrifying. Moreover, the song was formless and colorless. It was impossible to guard against it. This was a kind of innate divine ability that combined the universe's power and soul power. Hehe, are you also here to die? Lin Ling raised his head and smiled lightly. Smile. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. The experts who had attacked were all the strongest in the tree hole. This Lin Ling could still smile. Get lost. At this time Lin Ling roared. It was like the roar of the king of the 4 beasts, the world-devouring beast. Behind him, a huge mouth appeared. Mixed with Lin Ling's powerful soul power, it attacked. Puff! The man who was singing sorrowfully spat out a mouthful of blood. His expression changed greatly. Lin Ling's soul power was actually so strong. He was simply a monster. His body was strong, his world essence was strong, and his soul was also strong. He was simply a perfect genius with no weak points. Since you like to sing sorrowful songs so much, you can make a sorrowful story. Lin Ling roared towards the sky. His soul power rippled and attacked the man's soul. If the man had kept his soul in his dantian, Lin Ling would not have been able to kill him. That was because Lin Ling had not cultivated a powerful soul power martial art. However, the man specialized in soul power. When his soul came out, it was very weak. Ka. As if struck by lightning, the graceful man froze in midair. His soul had collapsed. Xiaosheng. Outside the tree hole, the left minister was boiling with anger. That man was an extraordinary existence in the left minister's residence. But now he was dead. Lin Ling, take this. Cauldron sealing masterpiece. There were less than 5 people who still dared to attack, and the sovereign marquis was one of them. He unleashed his ultimate technique, causing the Qingzhou cauldron to shatter. The bronze fragments danced in the air, then reformed again and charged at Lin Ling. The new cauldron of the Azure province actually carried the incense of the people of the myriad worlds. The entire tree hole was filled with the rich aroma of red sandalwood. Marquis of Sovereign Heaven, when you took Queen Qianji from me, you also want to know where the space-time steel is, right? Lin Ling said with his hands behind his back, as he looked at the cauldron crashing down from the sky. This kind of calm boldness shocked everyone. Could it be that no one could make Lin Ling treat seriously? That's right. Let me tell you, Lin Ling. Even though Queen Qianji has escaped, I have already found her. I will get the space-time divine steel sooner or later. In the sky, the sovereign Marquis long hair danced wildly. He was like a cauldron god, invulnerable to all evil. His words obviously wanted to affect Lin Ling's mentality. However, Lin Ling's next sentence affected his mentality instead. There's no need to go through so much trouble. The space-time divine steel is with me, Lin Ling said calmly. What? The sovereign Marquis expression changed drastically. For that treasure, he had put in a lot of effort to find Queen Qianji. Countless people had died. However, Lin Ling said that the space-time divine steel was with him? Pfft. The sovereign Marquis was so angry that he spat out a mouthful of blood. This meant that the space-time divine steel was with him. In the past, Lin Ling was not very strong. If he knew the secret, he could have taken it at any time. However, he did not know, so he missed it. Now Lin Ling was fully fledged. Even if he knew, what could he do? Pfft, pfft. The sovereign Marquis spat out 3 mouthfuls of blood. He looked dispirited, as if he had missed the most regrettable thing in his life. So powerful. You defeated the sovereign Marquis with 1 sentence. On the Sakra's side, Lord Eighth's pupils were trembling. Lin Ling was flying higher than the sovereign Marquis now, and he was even more dazzling. Sovereign Marquis, don't be fooled. He's lying to you. At this moment, Thunderclap Mother said anxiously. This made the sovereign Marquis' eyes light up. This was possible because Lin Ling had encountered several life and death situations, but he had never used the space-time divine steel. This was illogical. You lied to me. The sovereign Marquis roared angrily and activated the Qingzhou cauldron again to attack Lin Ling. Haha. However, Lin Ling smiled again. I never lie. Take the news that I failed to break through as an example. That's all just deceiving yourselves. When did I tell others that I failed to break through? Of course, I know you don't believe me, but look above your head. Hearing this, the sovereign Marquis looked up, and his face turned pale again. Pfft. 3 mouthfuls of blood shot out like arrows. Because at the top of the tree hole, a huge black shadow rolled over. It was the space-time divine steel. The huge divine steel flickered with ancient runes, as if it was an item used by a deity to suppress thousands of worlds. At this moment, the huge divine steel was following closely behind the Qingzhou cauldron. Rumble! The moment it smashed down, the Qingzhou cauldron was instantly shattered. It couldn't even withstand a single blow. The divine cauldron personally refined by the Azure Arch is also broken. Everyone was completely frightened by Lin Ling's ferocious strength. No one expected that Lin Ling had hidden his strength so deeply. At this moment, he had unleashed his full strength, and this full strength was even more terrifying than before. Rumble! After the space-time divine steel broke the Qingzhou cauldron, it floated above the sovereign Marquis head. The sovereign Marquis trembled all over, and sat on the ground with a plop, spitting out 3 mouthfuls of blood. Was this the treasure he had been dreaming of? Now he could finally look at it up close. The space-time divine steel was indeed very beautiful and powerful. Unfortunately, this treasure didn't belong to him. I won't kill you for now. In the future, I will visit you personally and ask for an old friend of yours. Lin Ling waved his hand lightly, and the space-time divine steel shot towards him and disappeared into his body. The person he wanted was Queen Qianji. In the past, the sovereign Marquis had taken Queen Qianji from him. Today, he wanted to see what the sovereign Marquis could say and resist. Also, Lei Yin Crone, your granddaughter was killed by me. Do you want to take revenge? Lin Ling looked at Lei Yin Crone again, still as calm as ever. Lei Yin Crone's face was ferocious. She was so angry that her eyes were spitting fire, but there was nothing she could do. After the matter at the 8 Gods' heavenly palace is over, I will go to the Lei Yin mansion personally to look for you. Prepare some tea for me. Lin Ling smiled as if he was talking to a friend. However, all the magnates present knew that this kind of friendly tone was often the most terrifying threat. Plop! Lei Yingkrone sat on the ground helplessly. Lin Ling came to visit her personally. This was definitely not a good thing. All right, now who still wants to snatch the Emperor's life essence? Come out. I, Lin Ling, will give you 3 moves. With his hands still behind his back, Lin Ling looked at the crowd. The tree hole was silent. No one dared to fight. Everyone looked at the young man with his hands behind his back, as if they were looking at the arrival of the Azure Emperor. Defeating the 81st Crown Prince, killing the experts from the left minister's residence, and smashing the sovereign Marquis Steele. A series of powerful moves had suppressed the crowd until they couldn't raise their heads. Since there is no one else, then this Emperor's life essence is mine. Lin Ling lifted his feet and walked towards the flower bud at the top of the tree hole. Chapter 2930. Awakening Dragon Palace. Outside the tree hole, the magnates' faces were solemn. They were helpless and could only watch as Lin Ling did whatever he wanted. This brat. The 3rd prince's face was solemn. He didn't expect Lin Ling to become so powerful after the trip to the 8 gods' heavenly palace. He was about to reach the pinnacle of the Green State's pyramid. This is his full strength. Among the crowd, a muscular man was trembling. He was the great ape of E. Not long ago, he was sent flying by Lin Ling with a single punch. At that time, he said that he didn't use his full strength. But now, he realized that even if he used his full strength, he would still be suppressed by Lin Ling. And Lin Ling had already obtained the Emperor's Fate's essence. Sakura immediately said, "Second brother, use it." Lin Ling's Emperor's Fate was already very close to the Azure Thearka's Jade Seal. If he used the Emperor's Fate's essence, he might be able to obtain the Azure Thearka's Jade Seal. However, Lin Ling shook his head. "I am not interested in the Azure Thearka's throne." When such words came out, everyone's jaws dropped. They were so angry that their teeth were itching. The Emperor's Fate was the power that the Green State's cultivators yearned for the most. Lin Ling was so close to that power, yet he wasn't interested? Moreover, if he wasn't interested, why didn't he give it to others? Bastard! The 99th prince couldn't help but curse. The 3rd prince smiled. Lin Ling didn't want the treasure, but she wanted it. She planned to use other treasures to exchange with Lin Ling. "Second brother, why?" Sakura was puzzled. "Because my goal is the 9 prefectures emperor." Lin Ling chuckled. His words silenced the crowd. They didn't expect Lin Ling's ambition to be so great. He didn't care about the Azure Thearka's throne, and had set his sights on the 9 prefectures emperor. The 9 prefectures emperor. This was a divine position that no one dared to think about. They wanted to say that Lin Ling was dreaming, but they felt that it wasn't convincing, because they had all witnessed Lin Ling's strength. At this moment, the silver light of the flower bud dispersed completely, and at the same time, an ancient divine diagram floated down. The divine map was made of sheepskin, and was extremely ancient. However, since it could be placed in the flower bud, it was obviously something that ancient martial artists valued greatly. Lin Ling took the sheepskin and opened it. He couldn't help but smile. Map of the Dragon Palace. As soon as these words were spoken, the expressions of everyone outside and inside the tree hole changed. Dragon Palace? Could the Dragon Palace of the 8 gods' heavenly palace be the Dragon God Palace of the 8 gods in the past? The Dragon God was a divine being that was above the ancestral dragon. In terms of life, it was even higher than the ancestral dragon, the universal dragon, the 9 continents dragon, and the myriad world dragon. At the same time, after the silver light of the flower bud poured out, the silver light outside the divine tree also gradually dispersed like mercury flowing down the ground. The magnates were allowed to enter, but none of them dared to act recklessly. "Lin Ling, give me the map of Dragon Palace." The 76th prince was the first to speak. Now that the essence of the emperor's life was taken by the 3rd prince, they didn't want to fight for it anymore. However, the map of Dragon Palace was no small matter. Lin Ling was still looking at the map of Dragon Palace, and a familiar smile appeared on his face. This was because Li Xiaoyao had been looking for this Dragon Palace in his previous life. It was hidden in the 4th floor, but he couldn't find it in the end. This led him to go to the 5th floor. "Give him 3 slaps and I'll tell you what this map is." Lin Ling was still looking at the map, as he muttered to himself. As soon as these words were spoken, the magnates frowned and looked at the 76th prince with evil intentions. What are you guys trying to do? The 76th prince reacted with a furious expression because the 99th prince, the minister of the left, and other experts were staring at him. Weren't these people enemies with Lin Ling? 76th prince, I'm sorry. The 99th prince took a step forward, and 3 crisp slaps landed on the 76th prince's face. The 76th prince caressed his face. He was so angry that he couldn't speak, but he didn't dare to provoke Lin Ling anymore. This is the resuscitating dragon palace, one of the 49 dragon gods under the 8 gods. Hearing the crisp sound of the slap, Lin Ling spoke slowly. Hearing this, everyone's breathing quickened. There were probably more treasures in this dragon palace. Inside is the desolate body's great Tao body, passed down from the universe to the era of the gods. There are also many 8th grade martial arts, many heavenly treasures, and the essence of the emperor's life. Of course, there are also precious dragon souls. Those who obtain the dragon souls will possess the bloodline of the dragon gods. Lin Ling spoke again. Every word he said made everyone's heart skip a beat. The existence of the desolate body could be traced back to the era of the gods. Thinking about it, Lin Ling's powerful talent was a 10th grade divine body, and he was able to suppress everyone with this talent. As for the desolate body, there were less than 10 people in Qingzhou who had the desolate body, and this was only an estimate. There were probably only 5 people. As for 8th grade martial arts, one could cultivate the power of the universe, which was even more powerful. It was a divine art that ordinary warriors could only dream of. There was also the essence of the emperor's life. Previously, just the essence of the emperor's life was enough for them to fight over it. What if there were multiple essences in the dragon palace? As for the dragon souls, there was no need to talk about them. They had only heard of it in legends. Even if they obtained the dragon souls, they wouldn't use them. All of these showed how precious the dragon palace was. Lin Ling, hand over the map. The 99th prince suppressed the excitement in his heart, and said coldly, "Hee hee." Lin Ling smiled calmly. Flames appeared in his palm, and burned the map to ashes. Sorry, my hand got a little hot, so I burned the map. When Lin Ling's voice drifted out, all the experts were stunned. Their breathing quickened, and some of the older ancient martial artists were so angry that they couldn't breathe. You are courting death. The left prime minister couldn't help but roar. He no longer looked as gentle as before. Although the map was burned, I still remember it. So if you want to find the resuscitating dragon palace, you have to hand over some treasures. Lin Ling ignored the left prime minister's anger, and said with a smile. He looked like an unscrupulous merchant. The magnates gritted their teeth in anger. It turned out that Lin Ling had done it on purpose. He had destroyed the map in order to blackmail them. Lin Ling, you are making a deal with the king of hell. The prime minister, who had been silent all this while, finally spoke. Threatening me? To put it bluntly, even if you are the king of hell, I don't care. Lin Ling shrugged nonchalantly and said with a smile. Are you going to give up the dragon palace or hand over the treasures? I have 10,000 royal crystals here. Is that enough? Hearing this, the 99th prince said angrily. He had never expected that as the leader of the magnates and the son of Emperor Qing, he would one day have to lower his voice to Lin Ling. Hee hee, it's enough. It's enough. Lin Ling's smile became even more charming. A royal crystal was more precious than a divine crystal. 10,000 royal crystals was a huge sum of money. It was enough for him to break through his third dantian. Lin Ling also knew that although he was famous in Qingzhou, there were many people who were stronger than him. For example, Tian Ling, who was a middle-stage martial celestial, was not someone he could fight against. Chapter 2931. I don't think you are a good person. I have a piece of divine tumor cloth. I got it from the 8 gods' heavenly palace. It is an ancient martial artist's robe. It has a large amount of ancient martial arts recorded in it. It can help you comprehend the power of the universe. Take it. The prime minister took out an ordinary cloth and threw it to Lin Ling reluctantly. My lord, this is a great treasure. The people from the prime minister's residence shouted. The Prime Minister did not get many treasures from the 8 gods' heavenly palace, but this divine tumor cloth was a treasure that all the magnates coveted. For this treasure, the Prime Minister's residence suffered a great loss. But now Lin Ling got it. This meant that their efforts were in vain. Thank you. Lin Ling could see that the treasure was extraordinary. No need, the Prime Minister said politely. But in his heart he was cursing. Lin Ling looked at the Prime Minister and said with a smile, Prime Minister, they gave me such precious treasures. You won't give me some trash, right? I have many treasures. Take your pick. The Prime Minister said indifferently. He took out a large amount of treasures. Wow, a supreme weapon. The aura of that hammer is very sharp. It must be a powerful supreme weapon. Tiansong bone ashes. Legend has it that the bone ashes of a person who cultivated the Tiansong Great Ring technique can help a martial artist reach the martial immortal realm in an instant. High rank 7 cultivation technique. That red cultivation technique is a fire attribute martial art. Everyone exclaimed. The Prime Minister was very low-key, but they did not expect him to have so many treasures. Lin Ling, Tiansong bone ashes are very good. If your friend has not reached the martial immortal realm, he can devour the bone ashes and step into the martial immortal realm in a year. Also, you are a fire attribute martial artist. That fire attribute martial art is very suitable for you. The Prime Minister looked at Lin Ling and said, But there are so many treasures. You can only choose one. Without a doubt, the treasures that the Prime Minister valued were all priceless. But he took the initiative to recommend them to Lin Ling. There must be something fishy about this. Lin Lingyun smiled faintly. The heavenly pine bone ashes were indeed very good. However, after the devourer became a martial immortal, they could only train in the heavenly pine great ring technique. This heavenly pine great ring technique was very ordinary, and could even be called trash. It was completely useless to Lin Ling. Only those mortals who would never be able to reach the martial immortal realm in their entire lives would be tempted by this treasure. As for the fire elemental cultivation technique, Lin Ling also shook his head because he saw an even better treasure. I want this. Lin Ling stretched out his hand, which made the Prime Minister secretly smile. That was a 7th grade fire attribute cultivation method. Although it was precious, at least he would not feel heartache. However, Lin Ling's hand quickly changed. He suddenly held an ordinary stone in his hand. The Prime Minister's expression changed drastically as he shouted, Lin Ling, that stupid rock is useless against you. He had scattered countless treasures. But who knew that Lin Ling would choose that treasure of all things? That treasure looked ordinary, but it was actually the most precious treasure among all the treasures. That was the essence of the World Mountain. According to legend, it was the essence of the World Mountain that was formed after a long period of time. Although it looked like a fist-sized stone, it actually suppressed countless mountains in the World Mountain. If such a treasure was used to refine weapons, it would definitely be an invincible existence. If it was used to assist one's cultivation, it would definitely increase one's cultivation speed by 3 times. It could be said that the Prime Minister's entire body was a treasure. I like to take people by surprise. I don't want good treasures. I like stupid rocks the most. Lin Ling kept the treasure with a smile. The Prime Minister's heart was bleeding. He did not expect Lin Ling's eyes to be so sharp. He had seen that treasure in the history of Qing province, so he had an impression of it. How could a young boy like Lin Ling be more knowledgeable than him? Although the others did not know what treasure Lin Ling had taken, they could see from the Prime Minister's expression that Lin Ling had taken a precious treasure. What a despicable guy. All the magnates cursed in their hearts. All right, 3 days later, I will bring all of you to the Awakening Dragon Palace. Lin Ling kept the essence of the World Mountain and turned to leave. The people of the imperial court followed him. Among them, the third prince was undoubtedly in a good mood. She had fought with the magnates for many years and had always been on par with them. She never expected that Lin Ling would be able to suppress the founding elders of Qing province. Haha, second brother, this is great. Sakura followed Lin Ling and kept laughing heartily. Meng Lu felt like he was dreaming. Lin Ling still failed to break through. He recalled the sympathy he had for Lin Ling on the 3rd level and couldn't help but smile bitterly. Such a ferocious Lin Ling still needed his help? This made him embarrassed to see Lin Ling. Last time, I had a feeling that if Lin Ling really succeeded in breaking through, he would definitely stir up a storm in Qing province. Now, it seems like that is indeed the case. Meng Lu said in his heart. The people of the imperial court were undoubtedly very happy. As for the magnates behind them, their expressions turned ugly. They knew that a fierce general had appeared in the imperial court and was the third prince's right-hand man. This person was Lin Ling of the imperial court. Lin Ling, why did you let them go to the awakening dragon palace together? The third prince caught up to Lin Ling and asked in a dignified tone. He had the aura of the Azure Emperor. Lin Ling glanced at the third prince and was unhappy. The third prince kept putting on airs in front of him. Did he really think that he was the Azure Emperor? Moreover, even if he was the real Azure Emperor, Lin Ling wouldn't give him any face. One had to know that the battle earlier reminded Lin Ling of the days when Li Xiaorao dominated the Nine Province. He then thought of the people who died in the rainforest's sacred land. His low-profile heart gradually became arrogant. Sometimes the more low-profile a person was, the more trouble they would bring. Everyone would treat you as a pushover and bully you. Do you think that I can refuse? I can defeat the three magnates in the tree hole. But do you think that's possible outside the tree hole? Let me tell you, even if all the experts of the imperial court are here, the imperial court won't be able to stop the three magnates. Lin Ling said indifferently. As the leader of the imperial court, you should set your sights further. Don't let the imperial court suffer a heavy blow for some small benefits. His words were filled with reprimand, causing the third prince to open his mouth wide. How dare you? Behind him, an old man immediately shouted angrily. This person was a prominent figure in the imperial court. He was a mid-stage martial immortal, so he couldn't stand Lin Ling reprimanding the third prince. Who do you think you are? Lin Ling stopped in his tracks and looked at the old man. I was here when the imperial court was first established. Tell me, who do you think I am? The old man was clearly even more furious. I think you're nothing. Why didn't you speak up when you faced the three magnates? Who was the one who raised the prestige of the imperial court in the tree hole? Where are you? Lin Ling said solemnly. The old man was speechless. You're rebelling. He was a prominent figure, so he didn't like Lin Ling's arrogance at all. Third prince, look at who you brought. Other than taking advantage of his seniority, what else can he do? He's strong, but is he of any use? When he sees the magnates, he only hides behind you. When the imperial court needs someone to stand up, he doesn't even know where he's hiding. Sigh. Chapter 2932. Water can carry a boat, but it can also capsize it. On the third level there are many people from the imperial court. They are weak, but they have the courage to become strong. They were captured by the three magnates, but they refused to surrender. They fought with the imperial court's aura. You are strong, but you don't dare to face the three magnates. They are weak, but they dare to. Can you compare to them? Lin Ling said again. Pooh. The elder was so angry that he spat out a mouthful of blood. He pointed at Lin Ling, but he couldn't say anything. I agree with Lin Ling. If it wasn't for Lin Ling, we wouldn't have gotten the Emperor's life essence. The magnates would look down on us, and we wouldn't have a share in the awakening dragon palace. At this time, Lord Eighth also spoke, supporting Lin Ling. Yes, my second brother is right. Yes. Sakura also said the same. The others from the imperial court were silent. Although Lin Ling had only joined the imperial court for a short time, Lin Ling had created too much fame. They all secretly approved of Lin Ling. Lin Ling, you are right, but the heavens. The third prince frowned and pleaded for the elder. You shut up too. Shut up. However, Lin Ling directly reprimanded her, causing her pupils to tremble. Lin Ling didn't give her any face at all. Water can carry a boat, but it can also capsize it. Think about it. Sometimes, only those who are strong are useful. Those who are useful are those who can be used at the crucial moment. If you let them down, you will find that no one in the imperial court can use them. Lin Ling looked coldly at the third prince and strode forward. The people he was talking about were Lin Ping, and the others from the third level. The third prince was stunned. She was furious. She was from the Jiang family of the Tianzhou Great World, but she was being scolded. However, she couldn't refute it, because Lin Ling's reputation in the imperial court had greatly increased. Gritting her teeth, she chased after Huang Xiaolong. Lin Ling, I admit that your words make sense, but why did you bring the magnates to the resuscitating dragon palace? Like I said, if the three magnates work together, our royal court will definitely be eliminated from the 8 gods' heavenly palace. Moreover, there are hidden experts among the 3 magnates. I'm afraid that the remaining experts from the Green Prefecture's 9 great heavens are among them, Lin Ling said without looking at her. There is also another reason, which is that the imperial dynasty won't be able to enter Wake Up Dragon Palace. I see. Although the third prince was annoyed that Lin Ling didn't give him face, he wasn't a little girl, and knew that the bigger picture was more important. I know you don't like me, but let me remind you that you'd better not provoke me, otherwise you'll regret it. Also, you'd better listen to me, because someone like you wasn't even qualified to be my mate in your previous life. Lin Ling glanced at the third prince again, but his tone was no longer as cold as before. He spoke in a casual tone. You. The third prince was so angry that he gritted his teeth, but Lin Ling had already strode forward. As for the people of the royal court, some were angry at Lin Ling's arrogance, while some agreed with Lin Ling's actions, because the royal court needed a domineering ruler. As for Sakura and the others, they followed Lin Ling. After a long time, the experts of the royal court rested in a tree hole and waited for the resuscitating dragon palace to open. As for Lin Ling, he found a quiet tree hole and enjoyed this hard-won peace. At the same time, he began to tidy up his loot. He had to admit that he had benefited greatly from the 8 gods' heavenly palace. Other than the scabbard, the time-space divine steel, and little Kunlun, he had a few more trump cards. He took out the ancient martial artist's robe and began to comprehend it. The robe looked ordinary, but it was actually left behind by a martial artist from the era of the gods. It had accompanied the martial artist for his entire life, and had memorized many martial arts. Holding the robe with both hands, Lin Ling's all-encompassing demonic eyes appeared. Instantly, he saw the process of an indomitable powerhouse, rising from the weak to the strong. All kinds of martial arts and ultimate martial arts flowed through Lin Ling's eyes. Lin Ling's ultimate fire Dao had been greatly enhanced. His Dao domain had improved as well. At the same time, his fire-type universal force had been greatly enhanced as well, reaching 30% of his universal force. Even without using the demonic flame transformation, he was able to reach this level of power. As for the robe, it had turned into fragments and scattered with the wind. I broke through too quickly. Otherwise, my fire universal power would have reached 50%. Lin Ling shook his head regretfully. Then, his eyes lit up because he realized that someone was secretly watching him. It was the third prince. Seeing this, Lin Ling sneered. This third prince was too arrogant. Watching others cultivate was a great taboo in martial arts. However, Lin Ling did not hide anything. He used all the imperial crystals that he had extorted from the 99 princes to cultivate. This time, he wanted to break through to the martial immortal realm with his third dantian. Last time, he had failed to break through with the help of the black forbidden medicine. However, imperial crystals were safer than the black forbidden medicine. Rumble. At the same time, his third dantian crazily increased. Although it was not very talented, it had increased Lin Ling's battle prowess by 20%. Heavens, does this guy not have any bottlenecks in his cultivation? How is this possible? The third prince was indeed secretly watching Lin Ling. At this moment, he was shocked, and his chest was violently jumping up and down. How could she know that Lin Ling had already reached a level that even she could only look up to? Thus, it was not difficult for him to break through quickly. After Lin Ling consumed most of the imperial crystals, his third dantian had reached stage 1 martial immortal realm. The aura of an immortal filled the air. What a strange guy. One moment, he gives off the feeling that he's a martial immortal. The next moment, he gives off the feeling that he's a world king. The third prince shook his head again. He could not see through Lin Ling at all. Have you seen enough? However, at this moment, a voice rang in her ears, causing her to blush. It turned out that Lin Ling had already discovered her. The third prince was extremely embarrassed. There's no need to explain. It's not that I, Lin Ling, can't let others watch me cultivate. It's just that if I show them, they might not understand. Lin Ling had already appeared outside the tree hole. There was a huge leaf there, and the third prince was standing on the leaf. One had to admit that the third prince's clothes were whiter than snow. She was as ethereal as a fairy and as cold as the moon. She was indeed a rare beauty. Of course, Lin Ling's gaze was very normal. He was not affected at all. Lin Ling, why? Why did you break through to martial immortal realm again? The third prince quickly changed the topic. Lin Ling smiled when he heard that. He turned his gaze to the distance. At this moment, many experts from the royal clan had arrived. His elder brother Indra had also arrived. Indra had actually broken through to the 4th level of the martial immortal realm. The reason was that Lin Ling had given Sakura a lot of forbidden black medicine. The experts of the imperial court gathered on the huge leaf. They all looked at Lin Ling. They had also heard the third prince's words, so they were looking forward to Lin Ling's answer. There was no lack of old monsters among them. There were even sect leaders who had founded their own sects. To them, they had studied martial arts for their entire lives. However, they had never seen a freak like Lin Ling. Chapter 2933. Reprimanding the founding elder of the imperial court. I've heard that there is a fish in the north called the Kuan. The Kuan is so big that no one knows how many thousand miles it can transform into a bird called the Pung. The third prince was very knowledgeable. There is a technique that allows one to become a Kuan Pung. It can transform into a fish in water and become a Pung in the sky. I'm practicing this technique called the Kuan Pung Heaven and Earth technique. That's why I'm sometimes in the World King realm and sometimes in the martial immortal realm. That's because I have 2 dantians. Lin Ling slowly explained. Bullshit, it's still possible to create 2 dantians with the help of heavenly treasures. But with the help of a technique? That's impossible. Although techniques are important, they're just external objects. An old man shook his head solemnly. He was the Sky Elder who refuted Lin Ling. Lin Ling looked at him with disdain. Impossible with the help of a technique? Did he think the Chaos Divine Formula was a joke? Lin Ling just didn't want to expose the Chaos Divine Formula. So he said the Kuan Pung Heaven and Earth technique. The Kuan Pung Heaven and Earth technique could indeed create 2 dantians. One was the Pung, and the other was the fish. It was also called the Heaven and Earth Dantian. Don't look at the world with your eyes. That's just your eyes. Only a toad would say the word impossible. Lin Ling said with disdain. Lin Ling's attitude and disdain infuriated Elder Sky so much that his face turned red. Lin Ling reprimanded him again and again, as if he was a martial arts grandmaster. If it wasn't for the third prince, he really wanted to teach Lin Ling a lesson. The third prince also frowned. Lin Ling was indeed powerful, but the Sky Elder was the guiding light of her life. He solved many difficult problems for her. Therefore, she couldn't help but say, Lin Ling, the Sky Elder is highly respected in the imperial court. His knowledge is as vast as the sea. Don't always target him. Vast as the sea? Third prince, you must be joking. If that's the case, then look at my talent. Lin Ling mockingly smiled and activated the realm-swallowing beast talent. This made the Sky Elder frown. He had seen this talent, but he didn't know what it was. The others were the same. I don't think you can understand it. Let me tell you, this is a realm-swallowing beast. Lin Ling cast a sidelong glance at Old Heaven. How is this possible? This time, everyone exclaimed in unison. Everyone present knew about the world-swallowing beast. It was a strange beast that existed in the chaos of the universe. It was immortal and mysterious. Once it appeared, 10,000 worlds would be swallowed up. Now this secret of the universe was Lin Ling's talent. Nothing is impossible when it comes to me, so don't judge others with your little knowledge. You can't do it, but that doesn't mean others can't. Lin Ling said disdainfully, making the group of old monsters embarrassed. They couldn't refute, but they were very unhappy with Lin Ling's disdainful attitude. They were the founding elders of the imperial dynasty, so when had they ever been scolded by a junior? The third prince also felt that it was difficult to put down his face. Moreover, she thought of the first time she met Lin Ling. Lin Ling had left her with the impression that he was arrogant and unruly. Now this arrogance was getting more and more exaggerated. Even Red Jade Tiger and the others had the same feeling. It seemed that after the destruction of the Rainforest Holy Land, Lin Ling had quietly changed. In the past, Lin Ling gave them a very mysterious feeling. Now Lin Ling was not only mysterious, but also ethereal. He was like the Azure Emperor, inviolable, inviolable, inviolable. Perhaps the destruction of the Rainforest Holy Land made Lin Ling no longer retreat behind the scenes. Instead, he chose to stand at the peak of the Qing province. In the past, he was very weak and didn't have much right to speak. Even though his country was destroyed, there were still people who dared to provoke him. Now, Lin Ling has stepped into the martial immortal realm and entered the ranks of the strongest martial artists in the Qing province. He will no longer be bullied. Lord Eighth secretly laughed. He liked the current Lin Ling even more, because he dared to take responsibility for his actions, and was not afraid of power. Lin Ling knew that the third prince was not convinced. He took out the essence of the world mountain and said, "Then let me ask you another question. Do you know what this is? Whoever answers correctly, I will give this stone to him as a reward." Yes. Once the essence of the world mountain was taken out, the eyes of the people in the imperial dynasty flickered. They kept guessing what treasure it was. It seems like it is some kind of sealing stone. Yes. Perhaps, this is an existence that surpasses the Emperor Crystal. It contains endless essence of the universe. Yes. I think it is just an ordinary stone. Yes. Those old monsters touched their chins and said, "A bunch of nonsense. You should go back and cultivate in seclusion for 10,000 years. You don't know anything." Are these the founding elders of the imperial dynasty? Yes. Hearing those guesses, Lin Ling couldn't help but laugh. You. Those old monsters were all trembling with anger. Lin Ling, how many times had he scolded them today? That tone, that disdain, it was too infuriating. After all, with Lin Ling's age, he was too young to be their grand disciple. This is the essence of the world mountain. It was left behind by the world mountain after the world shattered. After countless years, it finally formed the essence. Lin Ling said the answer. Hearing this, those old monsters' faces turned red. They had never heard of the essence of the world mountain before. Elder Heaven was still unwilling to give up and said, "You are the one who is talking nonsense. I think it is just an ordinary stone." You. Hearing those words, Lin Ling stared at Elder Heavenly. His gaze caused Elder Heavenly's face to turn red. He did not dare to look Lin Ling in the eye. As for Lin Ling, he did not bother to explain himself. He formed a complicated spirit formation with his hands, and removed the layer of ordinary clothing from the fist-sized ancient stone in his hand. "Feel it for yourself." You. He threw the stone at Elder Heaven. The latter laughed in disdain. "Watch me destroy it." Boom! Just as he caught the stone, his expression changed greatly. As if he was holding 10,000 worlds, his body smashed into the ground. Rumble! The entire ground was shaking, as if countless mountains in 10,000 worlds smashed down. A huge crater also appeared. At that moment, the crowd were all greatly alarmed. That fist-sized toy was actually capable of sending a late-stage martial immortal expert flying? This is a joke, right? However, Elder Heaven's strength was not weak. At this moment, he was holding the mountain with both hands. His legs trembled as he floated up from the crater. He bitterly shouted, "Someone come help me! Help!" When those words were spoken, everyone bitterly smiled. Finally, a few old monsters came out and saved Elder Heaven. Then, they carried the fist-sized stone and returned it to Lin Ling with both hands. "Sir Lin Ling, we really didn't know this stone was so miraculous." Sigh. Elder Heaven seemed to be convinced. His face was in a sorry state. "You are short-sighted, so it's not strange that you didn't know." However, the Prime Minister's face was filled with pain. "Can't you see it? If it was an ordinary treasure, would that old man feel pain?" Lin Ling could also see that these old monsters were stumped by these few questions. They also didn't dare to take advantage of their seniority. In the imperial court, only the third prince still refused to accept him. Third prince, what do you have to say? Therefore, Lin Ling looked at the third prince and said. The third prince's eyes flickered and he suddenly said, Your Excellency Lin Ling, very good. From now on, you will be the imperial court's dragon and tiger general. This dragon and tiger general is only below me and Grandma Wendao. You are as famous as Indra. Chapter 29-34. Training the Third Princess. Everyone in the imperial court was envious. Lin Ling, someone who had just joined the imperial court, had become a dragon general in the blink of an eye. This was a great gift. Your Excellency Lin Ling, how is it? Are you satisfied? The third prince looked at everyone, and then looked at Lin Ling coldly. In her opinion, she had already given Lin Ling a lot of face. Many people from the Jiang family in the Tianzhou Great World had helped her, but none of them were qualified to become a dragon general. Hearing this, Lin Ling sneered. There was a limit to his patience with this girl's arrogance. He, Lin Ling, had helped the imperial court many times, but the third prince kept putting on an act in front of him. She didn't know that Lin Ling stayed in the imperial court because he was giving face to Grandma Wendao. Do you think I'll be happy just because you gave me the position of general? I'm someone who doesn't even care about the position of Emperor Qing. Do you think a vanity position can make me smile? You're underestimating me, Lin Ling. Lin Ling said calmly. I helped you become Emperor Qing because of Grandma Wendao. In reality, I didn't gain anything. Instead, you took advantage of me. You. The third prince didn't expect Lin Ling's words to be so harsh. I know you're the eldest daughter of the Jiang family in the Tianzhou Great World, and the daughter of Emperor Qing. It's normal for you to be arrogant. Lin Ling continued. Moreover, you can continue to be arrogant in front of me, but it's best to stop this arrogance before going too far. Because when I, Lin Ling, sweep through the 9 states in the future, and you come looking for me again, you won't even have the qualifications to stand by my side at that time. I'll even despise you for being a servant girl. You. The third prince spat out another sentence. Everyone's expression changed, but they all smiled bitterly. They didn't expect Lin Ling to be even more arrogant than the third prince. The third prince stared at Lin Ling. She realized that although Lin Ling's words were arrogant, his expression was calm, as if he was talking about the most normal thing. If someone else said this, the third prince would definitely think they were arrogant and ignorant. However, Lin Ling was different. He always did what he said. It gave her the illusion that Lin Ling would sweep through the 9 states in the future. At the same time, she remembered Grandma Wendao's words. She wanted her to be Lin Ling's disciple. All sorts of thoughts appeared in the third prince's mind. He was angry and helpless at the same time. With a cold face he said, If you're so powerful, then prove yourself. Prove? Lin Ling. Lin Ling said nonchalantly. That attitude once again made the third prince grit his teeth. This was the first time she had seen such an arrogant junior in Qingzhou. Then give me some pointers on my martial arts. The third prince finally said. Lin Ling smiled. His 10,000 demonic eyes quietly appeared. He checked the third prince's talent and said, The bloodline of your Jiang family is condensed in your right arm. Moreover, you cultivate a divine technique called the Heavenly Mandate 9 Yang art. You can transform into a giant arm and control the 10,000 realms. Am I right? The last time he met the third prince, Lin Ling had challenged the people of the Great World's Jiang family. He knew that their innate gifts appeared in their arms. Then, he thought of a genius he had met in his previous life, and immediately had a guess. That genius's talent was also in his right arm. He had the 9 Yang Qi. The third prince also had it. How did you know? At this moment, the third prince's beautiful eyes narrowed. It was not strange that Lin Ling had guessed the source of her talent, but it was strange that Lin Ling also knew that she was practicing her family's cultivation method. I've said it before. There's nothing in this chaotic universe that I don't know. Lin Ling shrugged and said, Your family's technique is indeed powerful. Moreover, you should have cultivated to the 4th sun. It's a pity. If you combine yin and yang, you'll be truly invincible. What do you mean by that? The third prince's attitude finally changed. She was no longer cold and arrogant. The Kunpeng heaven and earth technique is very suitable for you because it's a water-type technique. It can be combined with your family's heavenly mandate 9 yang art to form the great Tao of water and fire. In the end, you can transform into the giant arm Kunpeng. However, there's a prerequisite. Lin Ling said slowly. I can cultivate the Kunpeng heaven and earth technique? The third prince's face changed dramatically. She would be lying if she said she wasn't tempted by a technique with 2 dantians. You can. However, the prerequisite is that you have to give up the heavenly mandate 9 yang art and abandon your dantian to cultivate again. Lin Ling said. What? The third prince's eyes narrowed. She was currently a middle-stage martial immortal. She had outstanding talent, and her ultimate martial path was powerful. However, she had to abandon everything? That's right. If your heavenly mandate 9 yang art has reached the 5th sun, then you'd better not covet the Kunpeng heaven and earth technique, because it'll be too late by then. Lin Ling turned around and left, leaving the third prince with a confused expression. She believed that Lin Ling wouldn't dare to deceive her, nor would he harm her. However, she was really reluctant to give up her strength. Moreover, it was very dangerous, because she would be weak if she were to recultivate. If she were to encounter a strong enemy, she wouldn't be able to do anything. Moreover, only you are qualified to cultivate the Kunpeng heaven and earth technique, because it requires a lot of resources. Ordinary people can't afford those resources. Lin Ling's voice drifted over again. Third princess, ignore him. An old woman beside the third prince immediately said. She was the third prince's personal old servant, and she was also from the Tianzhou realm's Jiang family. Of course, the others also agreed with the old woman. After all, it wasn't that easy to reach the martial immortal realm. Alright, I promise you. However, it must be after the 8 gods' heavenly palace. However, the third prince had already spoken firmly. You have courage. You are the right person to become Emperor Qing. Stop. Lin Ling stopped and couldn't help but smile. I'll give you the Son of Heaven's life essence that I obtained earlier. As for the Kunpeng heaven and earth technique, after leaving the 8 gods' heavenly palace, I'll personally guide you. Stop. Seeing Lin Ling leave, the third prince's eyes flickered. She had never thought that Lin Ling was qualified to be her master. However, now it seemed that she was half kneeling and taking Lin Ling as her master. Third princess, are you stupid? Stop. The old woman didn't understand why the third princess would listen to Lin Ling. Although Lin Ling had some ability, he was currently even weaker than the third princess. I've bet my future on Grandma One. The third prince's body emitted the aura of an son of heaven. She knew that with her family's cultivation technique, she could only be considered above average in the Jiang family. However, her ambition was not limited to that. She wanted to become the number 1 in the Jiang family and become the Emperor Qing of the Qingzhou realm. In the past, her hope was Grandma One. However, Grandma One had recommended Lin Ling to her. Therefore, she gambled that Grandma One wouldn't harm her. Don't worry, I'll slowly train you to become the Emperor Qing. As if he had guessed the third prince's thoughts, Lin Ling's voice drifted into the third prince's ears, causing her to blush. Train. After leaving, Lin Ling found a tree hole and began to cultivate. Wow, second brother, you're amazing. Even the third prince was completely under your control. That ice beauty had scolded me a lot in the past. Chapter 2935. Night Talk. Hee big brother, don't laugh at me. However, when I first met the third prince, he was also very arrogant. He actually used me to motivate the younger generation of the Jiang family. He even treated me, Lin Ling, as free labor. Lin Ling laughed. He was the same as before when he was with his family and friends. Then, Lin Ling said with a deep look in his eyes, Big brother, the rainforest sacred land has been destroyed. It's time for us to stand up because we'll have to fight the Empress Dowager sooner or later. So we have to be strong when necessary. Sakura nodded when he heard this. Presently, he and Lin Ling weren't ordinary people in the Azure County anymore. An expert naturally had to have the demeanor of an expert. So he understood the changes that Lin Ling had undergone during this period of time. This was because their enemy was the Empress Dowager. How could they be intimidated by a minor character like the leader of the magnates? The two of them chatted for a long time before Sakura finally left. Lin Ling took out the essence of the World Mountain, and then activated the Primal Chaos Divine Formula, planning to refine this treasure. The essence of World Mountain is not any lower than the level of the big seawater heart flower. If I can successfully refine it, my godly demon body will reach the barren body level. The world-swallowing beast's power will increase greatly. Lin Ling thought to himself, but he was worried that the Chaos Godly formula would not be able to refine the essence of World Mountain. However, he was obviously thinking too much. When he activated the Primal Chaos Divine formula, the fist-sized ancient stone immediately melted. Moreover, it enveloped Lin Ling's left arm and disappeared within it. After an unknown period of time, Lin Ling opened his eyes and smiled bitterly. This time, he did not completely refine it. Instead, the essence of the World Mountain was stuck in his left arm. As for his left arm, it had undoubtedly become much more powerful. Coupled with his 800,000 universes of power, he would most likely be able to kill a 5th-level martial immortal with his physical strength alone. Stuck in the left arm? Could it be that my physical body has gathered too much power of the universe, and I can't refine it all at once? Lin Ling secretly guessed that his Primal Chaos Divine method could refine any treasure, but his physical body had not reached such a height. However, he believed that it wouldn't be long before the World Mountain's essence would be refined. Calculating the time, tomorrow would be the day when all the magnates would gather. And in these 2 days, Lin Ling's strength had once again increased greatly, causing him to sigh. This 8 gods' heavenly palace was truly worthy of being a palace left behind by a god. It was night, and the world of plants was very quiet. All kinds of fragrances of flowers were floating in the air, and the wind blew past, making people feel incomparably relaxed. Lin Ling stood on a huge leaf and gazed into the distance. "You miss your family?" A clear and melodious voice suddenly rang out. Under the moonlight, the third prince was like a princess in snow-white robes, walking over with light steps. However, she was no longer as cold and distant as before. "You're not hiding your identity anymore?" Lin Ling was still looking at the sky. On this level, the third prince had always presented himself as a woman. Hence, Lin Ling guessed that the third prince had gained the confidence to not be afraid of the gossip of the authorities. "I won't hide anymore." The third prince came to Lin Ling's side. She tucked her fringe behind her ear, giving off a different vibe. It was beautiful. The third prince was indeed as beautiful as a fairy from the Moon Palace. "As a woman, you've worked hard to become the Azure-Tharch," Lin Ling said. "So what if it's hard? My mother is dead, and my life's goal is to kill the Azure-Tharch. Hence, as long as the Azure-Tharch is not dead, I, Jiang Shuiying, will not rest." The third prince said indifferently, "You will succeed. Remember, if you want to become a leader, other than strength, sometimes it's also very important to win people's hearts. Don't underestimate the weak, and don't let them down." Lin Ling turned around and looked at the third prince. "I'll remember." The third prince nodded. After pondering for a moment, she bowed to Lin Ling. Meanwhile, Lin Ling calmly accepted the bow with his hands behind his back. "Grandma Wen Dao told me to take you as my master. I wonder if Sir Lin Ling will accept me?" The third prince raised her head and looked forward to Lin Ling's reply. This time, she had clearly thought it through. Lin Ling had repeatedly created miracles, and in a short period of time, he had risen to power in the imperial court. All of this showed that he was a powerful cultivator who had fought in the 9 states before. However, this powerful cultivator had just risen, and the third prince had underestimated him. Of course, she still had some doubts as to where the limits of this powerful cultivator were. Lin Ling smiled bitterly. "You took Grandma Wen Dao's words seriously?" "Seriously," the third prince nodded. "As long as you're willing to take me as your disciple, I'm willing to do anything." When she said that, her pretty face turned red, and her plump upper body bounced up and down like a rabbit. This made Lin Ling smile even more bitterly. To be honest, he still liked the aloof third princess. "You don't have to do this." As long as Grandma Wendao is here, I will definitely help you. As for doing anything, there's no need. I have a family. Lin Ling stopped smiling and said seriously, Master, do you dislike me? The third prince frowned when she heard that. That charming look was very beautiful. Don't call me master. I don't plan to take you as my disciple. Secondly, don't insult me, Lin Ling. I have a family, and I'm not the kind of person you think I am. Lin Ling said with a serious expression. Your Excellency Lin Ling, I'm sorry. The third prince was stunned and quickly bowed to Lin Ling. In fact, after saying that, she was very nervous. If Lin Ling had nodded, she would have had to give her body. However, after Lin Ling rejected her, she suddenly felt disappointed. Was she not beautiful? Could it be that his status was very low? Why were countless men in Qingzhou yearning for her? But Lin Ling was indifferent. Your wives must be very happy, right? The third prince suppressed her thoughts and suddenly asked. Lin Ling immediately nodded. Looking into the distance, he thought of Yu, Xian Yuan Go and the rest. He also thought of his grandfather and mother. You are out fighting, but you think of them when you are free. They should be the motivation for you to become stronger. The third prince said again. That's right. They are the motivation for me to become stronger. When the day comes that I wash my enemies with blood, I will accompany them throughout the universe. Lin Ling looked at the moon in the sky and thought of the heavenly court that covered the 9 states, as well as the Empress Tian Liuli, who stood above the 9 states. The third prince looked at Lin Ling's cold eyes, and her heart trembled. In Lin Ling's resolute eyes, she saw the vicissitudes of life, the secrets of the universe, and a huge mission. Lin Ling should be a man with a story, the third prince thought to herself. For some reason, the current Lin Ling was very attractive to her. Meanwhile, Lin Ling was still looking into the distance and said meaningfully, Third prince, I know that you seem to respect me, but in fact you are still a little unwilling, right? That's right, Your Excellency Lin Ling. I know that you are very mysterious and powerful. However, I still have some doubts in my heart. For example, what is your limit? Can you really rule the 9 states? Of course, these doubts are not many anymore. The third prince did not hide anything and nodded. You will understand in the future. Chapter 2936. The magnates had gathered. Third princess, how have you been? A loud voice sounded at the same time. A figure floated up from the ground with his hands behind his back, and a large number of experts following behind him. The 76th prince? The third princess frowned. Haha. I didn't expect that the beautiful elder sister from back then would become the most promising person to become the next Emperor Qing after my father. The person who came was the 76th prince. He smiled at the third princess and then at Lin Ling. Of course, his eyes were extremely cold when he looked at Lin Ling. Lin Ling had humiliated him twice in the 8 gods' heavenly palace. Didn't this lowly peasant know that he was the son of the Azure Emperor? Didn't he know that he had the noble bloodline of the Azure Emperor? If Lin Ling hadn't obtained the map of the Waking Dragon Palace, he would have tortured Lin Ling to death. At the same time, Lin Ling looked at the 76th Crown Prince and smiled disdainfully. This smile made the 76th Crown Prince clench his teeth. He suddenly said, Third Princess, can I talk to you about something? What is it? The third princess replied. Although you are the leader of the 4 magnates in Qing province, the other 3 magnates are not weak. The prime minister is the mastermind behind the Blue Flame Army, but there is another mastermind. I'm sure you have guessed it. As for the minister of the left is definitely not the mastermind. There are also the 99 crown princes of the imperial court. He has gathered a lot of Azure Emperor's bloodline, and is very powerful. On the other hand, your imperial court is a little weak. The 76th prince said proudly. What are you trying to say? The third princess frowned. I want to say that if I join your imperial court, your strength will increase greatly. You should know that although I know the magnates, I have not joined them. The 76th prince grinned. Hearing this, the third princess's eyes flashed and said, What are your conditions? Hee, I knew you wouldn't reject. The 76th prince had already guessed the third princess's expression. Give me Lin Ling. After that the 76th prince, will join the imperial court. This will greatly benefit you. Although Lin Ling is one of the 9 heavens of Qing province, can he compare to the people behind me? I have countless experts on my side. Hee. At the end of his sentence, the 76th prince laughed out loud. Compared to Lin Ling, he believed that he was more tempting. He even guessed that the 3rd princess would definitely agree. And if Lin Ling were to fall into his hands, he would definitely torture Lin Ling. Reject it. Hee. However, just as he was about to smile, the 3rd princess had already answered him coldly. You're crazy. Hee. The 76th prince's eyes widened, and so did the cultivators behind him. There were so many of them, yet they were no match for Lin Ling. At this moment, Lin Ling calmly looked ahead. How could he not know the other party's intentions? However, he obviously did not have time to deal with this clown. 76th prince, slap yourself 3 times. Seeing that the dragon palace is about to open, I will spare your life for now. A cold voice came out of Lin Ling's mouth. Hearing this, the 76th prince and the others were stunned and dumbfounded. Lin Ling actually spoke to them in such a tone? Lowly commoner who doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Do you know whose bloodline I am? Trash like you has the right to talk to me? If you didn't have the map of Wake Up Dragon Palace, 10 of your lives would not be worth a single strand of my hair. The 76th prince roared. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. Lin Ling smiled, and did not bother to talk nonsense. He turned and left. Didn't you want me to slap myself 3 times? Why don't you dare to speak? I knew it. You're a coward. When faced with my noble bloodline, you only know how to kneel and beg for mercy. Seeing Lin Ling leave, the 76th prince became arrogant. The experts behind him also sneered. Go and slap him 3 times. He's so noisy. Lin Ling continued to move forward, and left a message for the 3rd princess. Haha, you actually ordered the 3rd princess. Haha, I'm not deaf, right? Doctor, tell me, did I hear wrongly? Hearing Lin Ling's words, the 76th prince laughed even louder. The people behind him were also laughing hysterically. The 3rd princess was one of the people behind the scenes. She had a powerful background, and the bloodline of the Azure Emperor. Not many people in Qingzhou could order her around, not even the 99th prince. And now, a mere Lin Ling dared to order the 3rd princess. Did he think he was the Azure Emperor? Lin Ling is right. You're really noisy. However, the 3rd princess had already taken a step forward, and was walking towards him. This time, the 76th prince and the others' faces stiffened. They looked as if they had eaten dog shit. Did they hear wrongly? The 3rd princess really listened to Lin Ling? Unfortunately, the 3rd princess did not explain anything. She was powerful, and had already appeared in front of the 76th prince. She slapped him. Rumble! That slap sent the 76th prince to the ground. The 3rd princess followed closely behind. Then, from the dense forest on the ground, cries of pain could be heard. In the sky, the people brought by the 76th prince were all stunned. It was as if they had seen a ghost. Wasn't the 3rd prince the most powerful person in the imperial court? How did it become Lin Ling? At this time, the 3rd princess had already floated up with a cold expression. If you make any more noise, I'll kill all of you. After saying that, she turned and left. Those experts were instantly scared out of their wits. They knew that the 3rd princess would really kill them. However, the resuscitating dragon palace was about to open, and the 3rd princess did not want to create more trouble. At the same time, the 76th prince floated up. His face was bruised and swollen. He was so angry that his forehead was covered in smoke. Lin Ling, that lowly commoner, had slapped him in the face for the 3rd time. We've come according to the agreement. At this time, a roar could be heard from afar. A large number of experts had arrived. They were the people of the 3 magnates. The 3 leading them were the 99th prince, the prime minister, and the minister of the left. When they saw the 76th prince who looked like a pig's head, their expressions changed. Previously, they had seen how the 3rd princess had rejected the 76th prince for Lin Ling. This meant that Lin Ling's status in the imperial court was unparalleled. Lin Ling, what kind of person is he? How did he achieve such results? This Lin Ling is already the leader of the magnates. All the magnates whispered to each other. If the previous Lin Ling could not be underestimated, the current Lin Ling was on the same level as them. He could even influence the future Emperor Qing. Everyone is here. That's great. Let's get ready to go. On the giant leaf, Lin Ling's smile could be heard. That smile was so mysterious that it made all the magnates' eyes light up. They believed that Lin Ling was not a fool. Since he dared to invite them to the resuscitating dragon palace, he would definitely need their help. They would be free fighters. However, even though Lin Ling was smart, they had to be careful that their cleverness backfired on them. If they were able to obtain treasures from the dragon palace, their strength would increase tremendously. Lin Ling would not be a threat anymore. Chapter 2937. Don't spout nonsense if you don't know anything. Lin Ling knew what they were thinking. Unfortunately, Lin Ling had memorized the map of the resuscitating dragon palace. In addition, he had been to the 8 gods' celestial palace in his previous life. Therefore, Lin Ling wasn't afraid of them causing any trouble. Your Excellency Lin Ling, I wonder if you are interested in joining the Blue Flame Army? Suddenly, the Prime Minister looked at Lin Ling and smiled, his attitude amiable. I'll take a look, Lin Ling replied calmly. He took a step forward and walked into the distance. Behind him were the people from the imperial court. Hearing that, the Prime Minister's eyes lit up. Lin Ling didn't reject him immediately. This meant that he still had a chance to recruit Lin Ling. Although he didn't like Lin Ling, he couldn't deny that Lin Ling was indeed a genius. If he could use him, the advantages would outweigh the disadvantages. Although this Lin Ling is powerful, he is only ranked 5th among the 9 elites. If I didn't have the map of the resuscitating dragon palace, I would have killed him long ago. As for the 99th crown prince, he secretly snorted. The 76th crown prince immediately flattered him. That's right. Lin Ling only has a lowly bloodline. How can he compare to our Emperor Qing's bloodline? Hearing that, the 99th crown prince nodded. He looked at the left prime minister and realized that the latter was calm and indifferent. However, he knew that the left prime minister didn't take Lin Ling seriously. He was just using Lin Ling. To put it bluntly, although Lin Ling was one of the best in Qingzhou, compared to the leaders of the magnates, his foundation was indeed weaker. The prime minister must have extended an olive branch to Lin Ling because of the resuscitating dragon palace. As for the Marquis of Sovereign Justice, Mother of Thunder, and the rest, they sneered. This was because they knew that Lin Ling had become a thorn in the side of the magnates. If they weren't careful, Lin Ling could very well die in the hands of the magnates. Everyone followed Lin Ling, and at the front of the group, Lin Ling rode on the fire Qilin, looking majestic. Who would have thought that there would be a day where that brat, Lin Ling, would actually lead the 4 magnates? Lord Eighth looked at the distant figure and could not help but sigh. He believed that if news of this were to spread to Pine Prefecture, it would absolutely cause unrest in Pine Prefecture. The cultivators of Qingzhou continued forward, passing through countless plants and vines. Finally, Lin Ling's footsteps stopped. At this moment, everyone became nervous. They looked around and saw that they were on top of a hill. This hill was very big, but it looked extremely ordinary. Old man Xingxiang, please take a look, the Lord Left Minister said politely to someone behind him. An old man wearing a starry robe walked out. A starry array appeared around him. His hands were skillfully moving around. This person was actually a world spiritist, and his skills were superb. Old man Xingxiang? I didn't expect that the left prime minister would invite him out of the mountain. Seeing this, the third princess's face turned serious. That's a red-robed world spiritist. Not just a red-robed world spiritist. I'm afraid he's half a step into the gold-robed world spiritist, Lin Ling said with a smile. Hearing this, the third princess, Sakura, and the others gasped. If that was the case, then the imperial court would be in trouble. Your Excellency Lin Ling, the Lord Left Minister obviously wants to find the entrance to the Dragon Palace. If he succeeds, he might kill you first. The third princess frowned. If they found the entrance, Lin Ling would be useless. Lin Ling had extorted the magnates not long ago. Those magnates would join forces to kill Lin Ling. By then, the imperial court would not be able to stop the 3 magnates. At this moment, the 99th prince, and the others were sneering with their hands behind their backs. In their eyes, Lin Ling was asking a tiger for its skin. Daring to make a deal with them was equivalent to dancing on a tightrope. This hill is called the Spirit Boundary Mountain. It's a magical place. The Dragon Palace might be under this hill. Finally, Elder Xingxiang said. The Lord Left Minister, and the others were overjoyed. Found the entrance to the Dragon Palace? They couldn't help but look at Lin Ling with cold eyes. This made the third princess and the others feel as if they were facing a great enemy. They were all prepared for a fierce battle. Hehe, you're Elder Xingxiang, right? But at this moment, Lin Ling said slowly, Are you sure this is the entrance to the Dragon Palace? Are you sure this is the Spirit Boundary Mountain? Old man, don't talk nonsense if you don't understand. Brat, what did you say? Elder Xingxiang raised his eyebrows when he saw Lin Ling's disdainful look. Although he had seen Lin Ling's prowess in the Divine Cave, Lin Ling was like a junior to him. It seems like you still don't understand what I'm saying. Look at my lips. If you don't understand, don't talk nonsense. Lin Ling said again. You. Elder Xingxiang was furious. Ignorant brat. You must be afraid that the lords will kill you. That's why you're talking nonsense. When he said that, the 99th prince and the others frowned. They did want to kill Lin Ling, but Elder Xingxiang had said it. This made them feel a little embarrassed. I'm not bragging. Even if I stood here and let them kill me, they wouldn't dare to. However, Lin Ling smiled sarcastically. You said this is the Spirit Boundary Mountain? Actually, this is a flower bud called the elephant drum flower. That's why you shouldn't talk nonsense if you don't understand. When he said that, everyone was shocked. Because the hill under their feet, no matter how they looked at it, was actually a huge mound of dirt. It did not look like a flower bud at all. Some people even used their eye of heaven to look at it carefully. It was indeed a hill. Lin Ling, this is a serious matter. Don't talk nonsense. The Lord Left Minister said immediately. Lord Left Minister, it seems like you're very protective. How about this? If this is a flower bud, why don't you give Lord Xingxiang 3 slaps? Lin Ling said. This, The Lord Left Minister was put in a difficult position. He was the one who invited Old Man Xingxiang. He had visited him 3 times before Old Man Xingxiang came to give him face. Old Man Xingxiang's background was not small. He had studied spirit boundaries together with Emperor Qing. Thus, even the Lord Left Minister had to treat him with respect, let alone give him 3 slaps. Lord Left Minister, do as he says. I don't believe that I, Old Man Xingxiang, have been around since Emperor Qing ascended to the throne. How can I lose to a brat who is still wet behind the ears? You don't have to give me face. Old Man Xingxiang said while blowing his beard. He believed in his own spirit boundary technique. Moreover, he was going to teach Lin Ling, this arrogant brat, a lesson today. Seeing that, the crowd also sneered. They were looking forward to a good show. So you agree? Then I, Lin Ling, also agree. If this is the Spirit Boundary Mountain, I, Lin Ling, will give you my head. Now let me ask you a question. The Spirit Boundary Mountain is the boundary of the universe. It's like a knot in the heart of a cultivator. However, it has a special characteristic. When it encounters water mist, can you see if this mountain will produce mist? Lin Ling took a step forward and asked indifferently. Hearing that, Old Man Xingxiang opened his mouth wide. He didn't know that the Spirit Boundary Mountain could encounter water mist. Let me ask you another question. You said that this is the entrance to the Dragon Palace. Lin Ling took another step forward, opposing him with equal harshness. Old Man Xingxiang quietly took a step back. He calculated that this mountain was not ordinary, but he didn't know how to enter the Dragon Palace. Lin Ling didn't care about the bloodline of the Azure Arch. At this time, the people of the imperial court followed Lin Ling forward, but the 3 magnates didn't move. They looked at the precious treasures around them and were extremely reluctant to part with them. My lord, are we really going to listen to Lin Ling? Someone asked softly. The Prime Minister, the Left Minister, and the 99th Prince all sneered. In the beginning, they had listened to Lin Ling because they were afraid that something unexpected would happen. However, now they felt that Lin Ling was deliberately mystifying things. Do as you wish. At this thought, the three magnates said, Thank you, my lord. The powerful cultivators were overjoyed. They all moved to plunder the star origin tree around them. However, as soon as they touched the blood-colored plants, the plants immediately withered, which made them very confused. However, at this time the clouds around the path changed. Countless skeletons appeared and stretched out their skeletal arms to grab those powerful cultivators. These skeletal arms were extremely tough and weren't afraid of Jie Yuan's attacks. Moreover, those who were caught by the skeletons disappeared after being pulled into the surroundings. Moreover, the colorful clouds around them began to disperse, revealing a crystal-like ice layer. Upon closer inspection, a large number of skeletons and bones were sealed in the ice layer. There were even some living people who were sealed in the ice layer and were probably dead. Oh no! Everyone was shocked and started to panic. They used their martial arts to fight against the ice. However, the path was too small, and the skeletons were endless. As a result, a large number of people were pulled into the ice layer and died completely. That kind of frozen wretchedness scared the people like cicadas in winter. Let's get out of here quickly. The 99th prince also shouted. He used the people around him to attract the skeletons and shot forward. Looking ahead, the people of the imperial court were safe and sound. They had followed Lin Ling for a long time, but when they looked back, they all gasped. This time, the three magnates must have lost countless of their men. Chapter 2939. The Sacrificial Pit. Your Excellency Lin Ling, this is. The third princess was also shocked. Luckily, everyone in the imperial court obeyed Lin Ling's orders. Otherwise, there would have been countless casualties. It's a taboo because that's the sacrificial pit. Lin Ling said solemnly. It was recorded on the map of Fu Su that one had to pass by the sacrificial pit before entering the Dragon Palace. However, he didn't expect the sacrificial pit to be so terrifying. He had never seen a blood-red plant before, so he reminded everyone not to touch it. As for people saying that it was the star origin tree, he thought that it was a joke. Ah, save me. Behind them, cries of pain could be heard. Everyone regretted not listening to Lin Ling, but it was too late. Speed up. Lin Ling didn't care about the people behind him and gave the order. The people of the imperial court quickly ran along the path. The 99th prince and the others also caught up. When they looked back, they felt as if their hearts were being cut by knives. Many of their people had died. After following Lin Ling for a full 2 hours, the path also became wider. Everyone rested on the spot, exhausted. Lin Ling, you've killed too many of our people. Don't you think you've gone overboard? The left minister couldn't help but say. He hated Lin Ling to the core. Didn't I remind you not to move around? Are your ears stuffed with donkey hair? Lin Ling sneered and said fearlessly. The left minister couldn't refute him, and could only sulk. So many people from the left minister's residence had died, but no one from the imperial court had died. Lin Ling mocked them for plugging their ears with donkey hair. This humiliation wouldn't disappear, even after 10,000 years. Let's continue. If you don't think it's safe, you can walk in front. Lin Ling ignored the left minister and looked ahead. We'll walk in front. Yes. The three magnate chi practitioners exchanged glances with one another and led the experts forward. Previously, they were at the bottom and suffered countless casualties. This time, they wouldn't be at the bottom even if they were beaten to death. If something really happened, then it should be the imperial dynasty. Some of them should have died. When he saw that, Lin Ling laughed coldly. He brought the people of imperial dynasty forward slowly. There are also plants. Where exactly is this place? Why is it so strange? After walking for an unknown period of time, a sound suddenly came from the front. This was because mysterious plants had appeared on both sides of the road again. These plants were 1/2 meter tall, and also had stars hanging from their leaves. But this time, they were afraid at a glance. Therefore they all quickened their pace. Lin Ling, be careful. Beside Lin Ling, the red jade tiger also saw those plants and couldn't help but remind him. Chapter 2940. Enter Wake Suppressing Dragon Palace. Hearing this, The Prime Minister and the other experts looked as if they had seen a ghost, because the thing in Lin Ling's hand was exactly the same as what they had seen before. But Lin Ling and the others were fine, while they had suffered countless casualties. How was this possible? You guys have been stalling for so long. Could it be that you've been collecting these treasures? 99th Prince frowned. That's right. Naturally, we can't miss such a precious treasure. I wanted to call you guys along, but you guys ran too fast. It's such a pity that we missed such a treasure. Lin Ling shook his head regretfully. Crack crack. Hearing this, the leaders of the various factions were stunned. Then they trembled with anger. The left minister's gaze was cold as he roared. How could this be? Why is it that we've suffered so many casualties while you've obtained such treasures? I don't know either. Maybe it's a matter of character, Lin Ling said with a shrug. That regretful look on his face made the left minister and the others almost want to kill Lin Ling. Of course, this was just a thought. And this feeling of wanting to kill, but not daring to do so was even worse than eating dog shit. Who told you to walk in front? Perhaps if you stay behind, those treasures will also be yours. But this time, are you still going to walk in front? Lin Ling said again. The most infuriating thing was that his expression was very calm, without any hint of sarcasm. And this kind of attitude was undoubtedly the biggest mockery to others. You walk in front. The 99th Crown Prince and the others roared in unison. Actually, it doesn't matter who walks in front, because we've reached the gate. Lin Ling had already stepped forward, passing through the hazy fog. His voice floated out at the same time. As soon as he finished speaking, everyone's expression changed, and they all rushed through the fog. Up ahead, an enormous palace appeared, and a tombstone hung from the ground. Tomb of the Fuchsia Dragon God. Do not disturb it. This huge dragon palace was made of gray rocks. It was hidden in the fog, and was extremely mysterious. However, it was silent and gave people a sense of oppression. At the same time, a huge rock was blocking the entrance of the dragon palace. It was motionless, as if it had existed since the era of the gods. That's the dragon sealing rock. Break it, and you can enter the palace. Lin Ling's eyes flashed as he pointed at the huge rock in front of the dragon palace. This was recorded on the map. I'll do it. Hearing that, an old man smiled joyfully and took the initiative to attack. His strength was at the 6th level of the martial immortal realm. However, when his attack landed on the rock did not move in the slightest. Instead, a terrifying power was reflected back and directly killed that old man. What's going on? Everyone was shocked. The dragon sealing rock is not easy. Only Lin Ling was used to it. This was the reason why he needed the magnates to join him. He knew that the imperial court alone wouldn't be able to break the dragon sealing stone. The 99 crown princes also knew why Lin Ling had invited them. However, the most important thing right now was to break the dragon sealing stone. Once the entrance was opened, they wouldn't have to be threatened by Lin Ling anymore. In fact, they had been holding back for a long time. 18 imperial dragons attack. The 99th prince decisively ordered the experts of the imperial dragon court to take action. These 18 imperial dragons were all at the 8th layer of the martial immortal realm. Although they looked like children short and young, they were all experts who had lived for countless years. Their strength was monstrous. When they attacked, it was as if they stirred up chaos. However, when their attacks landed on the dragon sealing rock, it only made the rock move slightly. On the contrary, 18 terrifying forces were reflected back at him. Retreat! The expressions of the 18 experts changed drastically, and they used their powerful speed, wanting to avoid the feedback force. However, the forces were extremely mysterious. They did not attack others. Instead, they chased after them, causing them to be seriously injured. How terrifying! At this moment, a feeling of insignificance rose in everyone's hearts. They were the strongest experts in Qingzhou. However, the forces left behind by the gods could easily kill them. This was only the power of one of the 8 gods. As for the 8 gods, they could imagine how powerful they were. They probably had the power to suppress the entire 9 states. Even Lin Ling's expression was solemn. He was even more curious about the secrets of the universe. Attack from 8 directions. Qian triple link, Kuan 6 break, Zhenyang bowl, Zhen overturning bowl, Lizhong void can Zhong full, Dui upper lack Sun lower break. Lin Ling did not care about the difference between friend and foe. If he could not break the dragon sealing rock, he would not be able to enter the dragon palace. Hearing that, the 99th prince and the others understood. They ordered the experts to attack according to Lin Ling's instructions. Third princess, let the imperial court attack too. Otherwise we're still lacking strength. Lin Ling said to the third princess. Hearing that, the experts of the imperial court attacked too. At that moment, the ancient martial arts of Qingzhou exploded. In terms of age, Lin Ling was the leader of the younger generation in Qingzhou. However, in terms of strength, many people present were stronger than him. Especially the experts in the later stage of the martial immortal realm. He was still unable to defeat them. The powerful force of the universe. At this moment, it was roaring ferociously and pouncing towards him. And now, he did not even have the strength to activate the time and space divine steel. The situation was instantly on the verge of death. However, at this moment of life and death, Lin Ling calmed down. Everything around him seemed to slow down, and it became a world of gray. This was an extremely strange feeling. The myriad demonic eyes has increased along with my strength. Right now, it allows me to think in an instant. Lin Ling was not surprised by this feeling. This was because Li Xiaoyao also had this feeling in the past. These ancient dragons, other than the scabbard, do not fear any other power. This is too heaven-defying. However, there has never been an invincible existence in the universe. They must have a weakness. Oh right, the sword that killed 3 ancient dragons before had the power of demonic sword energy. But there is another possibility. It is soul power. These ancient dragons should be dead. After millions of years, they should have died. However, the plants outside the palace nourished their souls, allowing their souls to never be extinguished. This means that these are real dragon souls. If I want to break them, the only way is to use soul power. Lin Ling instantly pondered. Everything in front of him began to regain color. Previously, he seemed to be thinking slowly, but in reality, to the outside world, it was just a breath of time. However, at this time, Lin Ling had already activated all of his soul power, forming an invisible soul shockwave that rushed towards the ancient dragon in the sky. Fortunately, his soul power was strong, so the scabbard did not absorb all of it. Otherwise, he would have already fainted, not to mention activating his soul power. As the soul power surged out, Lin Ling was in a semi-conscious state. However, he kept shouting in his heart that he must succeed. Fortunately, he guessed right. After colliding with Lin Ling's soul power, the last dragon soul in the sky exploded with a bang, turning into countless soul fragments and disappearing into the void. Seeing this, Lin Ling finally smiled. Chapter 2942. Snatching Treasures. After an unknown amount of time, Lin Ling finally woke up, but he had a splitting headache. Obviously, he had used too much soul power this time, causing him to be extremely tired. After all, soul power was harder to recover than realm essence. Alright, those star plants. Lin Ling suddenly thought of something, quickly sat down cross-legged and devoured those star plants. His soul power was instantly nourished, gradually recovering, and even more condensed. After that, Lin Ling took out the treasures on him, and continued to refine them. The lost physical strength and realm essence also gradually recovered by more than 50%. This wake-up dragon palace is too dangerous. Standing up, Lin Ling continued to move forward. After that, he did not dare to be too ostentatious, and moved forward carefully. Not long after, a crossroad began to appear in front of him, and a large number of corpses were lying there, all wearing different colored armor. Even though they had been dead for a long time, they were still dignified like gods. These corpses were obviously experts from the era of gods. At the same time, a figure was searching around the corpses. Unfortunately, those armors shattered with a touch, and too much time had passed, and the spiritual energy was exhausted. After searching for a long time, finally, that person found 3 white tokens. Haha, the other treasures are all broken, Only these 3 tokens are still as good as new. These must be extreme treasures. This is my great change ape's good fortune. That's why it's said that good intentions are rewarded. That figure could not help but laugh at the sky. Great change ape, hand over those 3 treasures. However, at this moment, an old voice sounded like a nightingale, and several figures walked over. Among them, an old man had a fierce look in his eyes, and his entire body was as thin as a monkey. I was wondering who it was. So it's Flowing Earth Old Monster. What? You want the treasures in my hands? That figure turned around, and immediately said disdainfully, and the 3 tokens in his hand were also kept by him. Great change ape, I know you're very powerful, but those who see the treasures have a share. Don't you think you're too greedy to want to take them all for yourself? Among those people, one of them also spoke. If you want these treasures, then let's see if you have the strength. The great change ape sneered, and a fierce aura burst out, and a white ancient ape appeared behind him, pounding its chest and roaring. Let me test your strength. The old man was not afraid in the slightest, and also erupted with his full strength. This person was at the 6th level of the martial immortal realm. His strength was great, and the power of the universe surged like an ocean. Since the great change ape was a 3rd level martial immortal, he chose to risk it all. Luminous Earth Old Monster, one of the magnates of the Blue Flame Army, actually made a move. My opponent is the Great Change Ape, one of the 9 great heavens of the Green Province, ranked 6th. His strength is not weak either. No, he's currently ranked 7th, because Lin Ling and Sakura are above him. Unknowingly, many people had gathered in the surroundings, and all of them began to discuss spiritedly. Rumble. At this moment, the 2 experts had already clashed. In the blink of an eye, they had exchanged millions of blows. The Flowing Earth Old Monster became more and more shocked as he fought. He was 3 realms higher than the Great Change Ape, but he could not suppress the latter. It seemed that all the titled battle pet warriors were freaks. It's over. While he was still in shock, the Great Change Ape roared, and a huge ancient ape appeared. There were actually 3 of them, as if their heads were in the sky and their feet were on the ground. They transformed into 3 punches and smashed down. Their powerful talent was also displayed. They actually had a 9th grade divine body. Puff! The Flowing Earth Old Monster spat out a mouthful of blood. Unable to withstand the ferocity of the Great Change Ape, he roared, I don't want your treasure anymore. It's too late. However, the Great Change Ape shook his head coldly, and still used his killing move. In the end, he killed the ancient senior of the Blue Flame Army. So powerful. Seeing this, the surrounding people were like cicadas in winter. They did not dare to snatch the Great Change Ape's treasure anymore. The treasure is here. Who else wants it? The Great Change Ape glanced at the crowd and said indifferently. Unfortunately, wherever he looked, everyone lowered their heads and remained silent. I want it. However, at this moment, a lazy voice suddenly rang out. Who is it? Do you want to die? Hearing this, the Great Change Ape's expression became ferocious. There was actually someone who dared to provoke him at a time like this? He silently turned around and followed the voice. However, in the next moment, his ferocious expression vanished and was replaced by bitterness. On the misty path ahead, a slender figure slowly walked over. He wore a blue robe and carried an ancient sword. He was unforgettable. What's wrong with the Great Change Ape? He was arrogant and unrestrained before. So why does he reveal such an expression now? The crowd became curious, and when they saw who it was, they gasped. It was the Imperial Court's Lin Ling. This was also a person who could shake the entire Qing province with just a move of his foot. Great Change Ape, since I, Lin Ling, have taken a fancy to it, then it belongs to me. Are you going to hand it over or not? At this moment, Lin Ling strode forward, causing the Great Change Ape to grit its teeth tightly. If it was in the past, it would feel disdain towards Lin Ling. However, not long ago, Lin Ling had shaken the entire Azure Prefecture. His strength was obvious to all. However, when it thought of the precious jade tablet, the Great Change Ape still chose to take the risk. Lin Ling, don't go too far. You and I are both heavenly blessings. If we really fight, it's not certain who will win or lose. What's not certain about? If we really fight, you'll only lose. Hearing this, Lin Ling replied indifferently, and his tone was filled with disdain. They're both heavenly blessings, but the Great Change Ape seems to be very afraid of Lin Ling. Of course, Lin Ling doesn't even fear the 81st prince. The Great Change Ape is naturally lacking. The scene before them caused many people to whisper amongst themselves. Lin Ling, let's fight. At this point, the Great Change Ape couldn't give away the treasure with both hands. After all, losing the treasure wasn't a big deal. But losing face was something he couldn't face. So it went all out. Roar! The three ancient white apes appeared again. They were ferocious and domineering, and their roars soared into the sky. Stubborn! Lin Ling also attacked. The realm-devouring beast appeared, and his three dantians merged. His left fist surged out like a meteor. Great Change Ape, you said last time that you didn't use your full strength. Now you have a chance. Lin Ling, this time, I'll make you accept your defeat wholeheartedly. The two heavenly gifted powerhouses were like two ancient vicious beasts, crazily clashing against each other. At the moment of impact, the surrounding ancient powerhouses were blown away by the powerful astral winds. The weaker ones were so shocked that they spat out blood. Rumble! The Great Change Ape and Lin Ling exchanged blows. At first, it still had a ferocious expression, but gradually, the corners of its eyes twitched, and its face was filled with a bitter smile. This was because Lin Ling's punch was too terrifying. It was boundless like the sea, and unstoppable. This guy is clearly stronger than when he was in the tree hole. The Great Change Ape already knew that it wasn't Lin Ling's match. However, it couldn't put down its pride, so it wanted to use its full strength to make Lin Ling fear it. However, it was useless. Bang bang bang. It retreated, unable to block Lin Ling's punch. This was because Lin Ling's left fist hid the essence of the realm mountain. In Lin Ling's hand, 3 jade plates appeared. He carefully observed them. The 3 jade plates were of different colors. They were red, blue, and yellow. They looked very normal on the surface, but they emitted a mysterious chi. To know that even though there were countless treasures in the resuscitating dragon palace, too much time had passed. Most of the treasures had disappeared with the wind. However, these 3 jade plates were still preserved. This meant that they were not ordinary. The 3 jade plates were carved with ancient runes. However, Lin Ling specialized in enchantments. Therefore, he recognized 3 words from the runes. They were strength, speed, and defense. 4th realm extreme treasure. And it is a one-time use treasure. Lin Ling checked it again, and understood what was going on. These 3 jade plates had miraculous powers. For example, crushing the red jade plate could increase one's attacking power, the blue one could increase one's speed, and the yellow one could increase one's defense. As for how big the increase was, Lin Ling guessed that it was not small. However, even though the jade plates were powerful, they had their flaws. They could only last for the time it took for an incense stick to burn. After keeping the jade plates, Lin Ling continued walking. After passing by a few crossroads, he realized that the resuscitating dragon palace was like a maze. If he did not have the map, he would have been dizzy. However, there were definitely many treasures in the other roads. Whoever could get them would have to depend on their luck. Fight! He continued walking and reached a new crossroad. There was an intense battle in front of him. It seemed like someone had obtained some kind of treasure. This caused all the magnates to fight for it. As expected, Lin Ling saw a tombstone by the side of the road. On the tombstone, the words were blurred. However, beside the tombstone, there were a large number of treasure chests shining with light. As for the 2 sides that were fighting, one of them was a familiar face. It was the 76th prince. The other experts were from the Imperial Censor Dragon Court. The other side was also a familiar face. It was Meng Lu, Xian Linglong, and the 8th Ju Lord. Of course, there were only 3 of them. They could not stop the attack of the 76th prince and the other experts. You came at the right time. After seeing the situation clearly, Lin Ling couldn't help but laugh. At this time, the roars in front of him continued. Haha, I, the 76th prince, am the chosen one. In these treasure chests, I see 3 Son of Heaven's essences. This is a gift from the heavens. The 76th prince was obviously very excited. It was as if all the treasures belonged to him. Meng Lu Xian Linglong. Seeing that you are from the Black Warrior Divine Manor, you can scram. I will spare your lives. An old man said indifferently. Hee, they are really pitiful. These treasures were found by them first, but in the end they met us. Another person said. Seeing this, Xian Linglong frowned. She suddenly looked at Meng Lu and said, Leave this place. We are not their match. That may not be the case. Meng Lu sneered. Suddenly, powerful world essence erupted, scattering the clouds in the sky. Third stage martial immortal realm? How is that possible? Sensing the surging world essence, the 76th prince and the others sucked in a breath of cold air. If they remembered correctly, Meng Lu was only at the first stage of the martial immortal realm not long ago. In such a short time, this monster actually broke through 2 stages? My strength can fight against a 6th stage martial immortal. You want to snatch my treasures? You are too inexperienced. Meng Lu's strength had advanced by leaps and bounds because of a fortuitous encounter. Die! He activated his mysterious talent. The demonic god's tomb appeared, and an ancient elegy was sung. Attack! Attack! The 76th prince and the others couldn't give up on the treasures, so they all attacked. Seeing this, Lord 8th also joined in. For a time, the 2 sides were locked in a fierce battle. In the distance, Lin Ling's eyes flickered. It seemed that the heavens were fair. If Lin Ling could obtain treasures, others could too. Meng Lu had obviously obtained a great fortune. Although the current Meng Lu was weaker than Lin Ling knew that he wasn't that much weaker. He was much better than before. Rumble. The collision between the 2 sides seemed to cause the heavens to collapse and the earth to split. The Dragon Palace was stirred. Meng Lu's origin was indeed worthy of being one of the 9 provinces' 10 vicious. He was extremely powerful, blocking a large number of experts by himself. As for Lord 8th, he only blocked 3 of them. From this, one could see the difference between the 2. Meng Lu is the number 1 genius below Lin Ling and Sakura. Lord 8th couldn't help but sigh. Then he smiled. With a monster like Meng Lu here, the 76th prince and the others definitely couldn't take advantage of him. Chapter 2944. The Mysterious Old Man. Meng Lu, I admit that I underestimated you. However, don't be too smug. Seeing that the situation was not right, the 76th prince suddenly shouted angrily. What can you do if I'm smug? Your people have been stopped by me and Lord 8th. We only have 1 person left, Xian Linglong. She can take away all the treasures. Meng Lu said casually as he defended himself against the experts. Haha, do you think I don't exist? The 76th prince laughed. His words made Meng Lu frown. In his subconscious mind, the 76th prince was a piece of trash. It was only because he had the Azure Emperor's bloodline that people respected him. In addition, the 76th prince had been humiliated by Lin Ling time and time again. Therefore, Meng Lu looked down on him even more. I'm the son of the Azure Emperor. The 76th prince put his finger in his mouth and bit it lightly. Then, using the blood from his finger, he drew something in front of him. Bloody words appeared quietly. In just an instant, his cultivation level increased greatly and reached the 7th level of the martial immortal realm. The Azure Emperor's bloodline. Meng Lu's expression turned serious. The 76th prince had activated the bloodline left by the Azure Emperor and greatly increased his strength. Now you know fear. Weren't you very happy before? Haha, the mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. The 76th prince's aura increased greatly. If the Azure Emperor arrived, the scales of victory would tip in his favor. This made him very excited. As for Lord 8th and Xian Linglong, their expressions were extremely ugly. Very good. The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. I, Lin Ling, am here. However, just as everyone was thinking, an indifferent voice suddenly sounded. Then, a flaming fist came from afar. Rumble. Everywhere it passed. 3 of the opponents that Meng Lu and Lord 8th were fighting were killed by the fist. Even a 6th-level martial immortal expert could not block the fist. Then, a slender figure appeared in front of everyone. It was Lin Ling. Lin Ling. Meng Lu was the first to react. His pupils kept trembling. having reached the third level of the martial immortal realm. He was confident that he could defeat someone at the sixth level of the martial immortal realm. The gap between him and Lin Ling was not that great. However, Lin Ling seemed to have increased his strength again. A mere first-level martial immortal had actually killed a sixth-level martial immortal as easily as chopping vegetables. On the other hand, Lord Eighth and Xian Linglong were delighted. In their hearts, so long as Lin Ling appeared, it was as if nothing could stop him. It's you again. Lin Ling, were you my nemesis in my previous life? Why is it you again? Seeing Lin Ling's untimely appearance, the 76th prince was clearly enraged. I don't believe in evil. Lin Ling, there's an emperor's life essence in this treasure chest. Why don't you try and see if you can get it? The old man still pressed down on Lin Ling's hand and said calmly. However, his words were mixed with a powerful domineering aura. The treasure is right in front of you. Can you, Lin Ling, get it? I don't believe in evil either. Lin Ling retorted. Behind him, the tyrannical song sword floated up and floated towards his other hand with its scabbard. Seeing this, the old man smiled faintly. He also made a move, but no one could see through his move. His arm grabbed towards the scabbard. This sword is extraordinary. It's mine. The old man's eyes were filled with joy. Lin Ling sensed the old man's move and was shocked again. This old man's strength was stronger than he had imagined. However, he also sneered. My sword isn't that easy to take. No one in Qingzhou can say that to me. The old man shook his head in disdain. His arm was like a dragon's claw as he suddenly grabbed the sword. However, as soon as his fair palm touched the scabbard, a cold aura rolled out like a demonic cloud. Oh no! The old man had obviously underestimated the scabbard. His body disappeared in an instant. At the same time, a sword ray flashed past where he was standing before, but the old man dodged it. Even Lin Ling was surprised because this was the first time he saw the scabbard sword being dodged. Young man, your sword is quite powerful. I admit that I underestimated you. The old man had already appeared on the other side, and his expression became serious. I'm sorry, but I won. The Emperor's life essence has been taken by me. Chapter 2945. The Nine Heavens of Qing Province. Previously, he was confident that Lin Ling wouldn't be able to obtain any treasures, so he spoke arrogantly. However, Lin Ling had succeeded. With his strength, he actually lost to Lin Ling. This made him feel disbelief. Alright, you don't have to put on an act. Reveal your true form. Be careful not to embarrass yourself in front of me, Lin Ling. Lin Ling put away the Son of Heaven's mandate and looked at the old man indifferently. These words shocked the old man once again because Lin Ling was too calm. Facing such a strong opponent, he didn't panic at all. How did you see through it? The old man said with a frown. Although I don't know what kind of cultivation technique you've cultivated to change your appearance and aura. But please, if you want to put on an act, let's go all the way. Don't you think you've revealed a huge flaw? Lin Ling said with a smile. Flaw? Could it be that you've seen through my cultivation technique? You're thinking too much. It's your hand. An old man like you, whose hand would be as white as jade. When Lin Ling's last sentence fell, the old man's entire body trembled. Only then did he realize that he had indeed overlooked this huge flaw. Sometimes the simpler something is, the easier it is to forget. A true ancient martial artist shouldn't make such a small mistake. So I estimate that you shouldn't be that old. Lin Ling said again. His words were like a sword, piercing straight into the old man's heart. Let me guess again. You're not that old, but you have such strength. There are definitely not many people in Qing province. Apart from the people I don't know, the only people I know are the remaining four heavens. You should be one of the four most mysterious people in Qing province. Lin Ling's words didn't stop until they shocked the old man to death. The old man was stunned, as if he had been struck by thunder. I've long heard of Lin Ling's great name. Seeing you today, you're indeed extraordinary. After being exposed by Lin Ling, the old man no longer hid his identity. It was as if he had shed off a layer of skin. Then, a bright light shone, and a slender figure walked out from it. This was actually a rare beauty. She looked to be around 20 years old, and wore a pink palace dress with hundreds of flowers. Between her thin clothes, her twin peaks were full, and her limpid eyes seemed to be able to see through everything in the world. No matter how one looked at it, she was a beauty that could captivate even birds and beasts. Wow! I didn't expect this expert to be so beautiful. The 76th prince could not help but speak. Pa. However, in the next moment, the crisp sound of a slap resounded across his face. It was that woman. You hit me? The 76th prince immediately roared. Hee hee, 76th prince, if you keep talking nonsense, I might even kill you. The woman smiled, but her words were extremely cold. The 76th prince did not dare to speak again. He sensed a familiar aura from that woman. It was the Azure Thearch's aura. The woman smiled at Lin Ling, and was about to speak, but at that moment, another person arrived at the crossroad. When she saw everyone, her expression changed slightly. Your Excellency Lin Ling. The person took the lead to greet Lin Ling. She was the third princess. Of course, she looked more at the woman and finally said solemnly, Imperial concubine sure of the 9 heavens of Qingzhou? Third princess, long time no see. The woman smiled and nodded. She obviously knew the third princess. Imperial concubine sure? She's Imperial concubine sure? The 76th prince was stunned. Then his face was filled with horror. The old monsters next to him also opened their mouths wide. Imperial concubine sure is rumored to be the most beautiful fairy in Qingzhou. She is also the most beautiful woman in the world of mortals. She is proficient in the 4 arts of zither, chess, calligraphy and painting. She once made the Azure Thearch forget to return. Someone exclaimed. Imperial concubine sure was a very mysterious person. No one knew where she came from. However, some people knew that she opened a brothel in Qingzhou called Smoky Poetry House. Many indomitable experts of Qingzhou went there because of its reputation, including the Azure Thearch. Ordinary experts were also curious about Smoky Poetry House. However, after searching for thousands of years, they could not find that brothel. The famous Imperial concubine sure has also entered the 8 gods' heavenly palace. Then your pursuer, the heavenly court's absolute killer tiger, should be here as well. The third princess said with a faint smile after calming down. Him. I don't know. Maybe he didn't come. Or maybe he is hiding among the big shots. Shifei covered her mouth and smiled. Her gentle movements carried an aura that could topple cities. Her full chest emitted a strange light, causing the blood of the surrounding old monsters to boil. Some of the weaker middle-aged men even began to bleed from their 7 orifices. This imperial concubine sure was simply a peerless enchantress. Lin Ling's eyes flickered. He realized that imperial concubine sure's talent was very mysterious. It was mixed with a kind of seduction technique. This kind of seduction technique was the best among all seduction techniques. It was as if it was left behind by a god. It had to be said that Lin Ling also admitted that imperial concubine sure was a peerless enchantress. Lin Ling, how about another round? Take out another treasure and try. Imperial concubine sure was obviously not interested in the people around her. Instead, she was very interested in Lin Ling. When her words fell, the third princess's expression changed slightly. She did not expect imperial concubine sure to provoke Lin Ling. The others were the same. They were secretly shocked. If imperial concubine sure did not announce her identity, they would think that Lin Ling would definitely win. However, after knowing that imperial concubine sure was one of the 4 most mysterious of the 9 heavens of Qingzhou, they knew that the current Lin Ling could not compare to her. One had to know that the 4 most mysterious of the 9 heavens of Qingzhou were people that even Emperor Qing had to give face to. The third princess was just about to remind Lin Ling to ignore imperial concubine sure. But Lin Ling had already spoken. He said very matter-of-factly, "Isn't this a very simple matter?" The attitude of his words was as simple as eating. At this moment, everyone was stunned. Even imperial concubine sure was the same. She could not help but laugh. What if you fail? Gamble? Sorry, I'm really not interested. However, I never thought that I would fail. Lin Ling said with a smile. Although his smile was calm, it was mixed with a domineering aura. Ignorant trash. What do you know? When the 76th prince heard Lin Ling's words, he immediately cursed angrily. In his opinion, although Lin Ling was powerful, if he wanted to compete with imperial concubine Shi, he was simply overestimating himself and seeking death. I've suddenly changed my mind. If I win, all the treasures will belong to me. If I lose, the treasures will belong to you. You can do whatever you want with me. Of course, the premise is that you have to give that guy 3 slaps first. Lin Ling suddenly laughed and looked at imperial concubine Shi as he spoke. It seems that I've taken advantage of you. Not only do I get the treasures, but I also get you. Imperial concubine Shi agree. Hearing this, imperial concubine Shi was stunned. She smiled beautifully, but she also secretly admired Lin Ling's courage. Slap, slap, slap. 3 slaps landed on the 76th prince's face. No one could see imperial concubine Shi's move. They could only see the 76th prince's ugly face, as if he had eaten dog shit. 76th prince, how many times have you been slapped? In front of me, Lin Ling. You can only be slapped in the face forever. Chapter 2946. Defeating you is as simple as eating. I'm ready to make my move. At this moment Lin Ling also spoke. You're reminding me? Shi was stunned. With her strength, Lin Ling actually reminded her? Even the third princess, Meng Lu, and the others sucked in a breath of cold air. There was no doubt about the strength of the 4 most mysterious people of the 9 heavens of Qing province. Lin Ling was gambling with such an expert, and he actually reminded her. For fairness, Lin Ling shrugged. However, this sentence was even more shocking. Fairness. He was already at a disadvantage in the gambling with Shi, and he was actually doing it for fairness? At this moment, no one knew what Lin Ling was planning. However, before everyone could recover from their shock, Lin Ling had already made his move. His goal this time was to obtain the treasure in the treasure chest again. And Shi was obviously going to stop him. Shi seemed to be at the 4th level of the martial immortal realm. But she was definitely not as simple as she looked. At this moment, the third princess was worried for Lin Ling, because even she did not have the confidence to win against Shi. 20 worlds of speed, amazing. Shi stood there like a flower, and did not act rashly. Instead, she was paying attention to Lin Ling's speed. Although Lin Ling's speed was terrifying, it was obviously not enough to enter her eyes. Because she had a speed faster than Lin Ling. You'll be defeated in 3 breaths, because I'm also going to make my move. Shi's Hongyan mouth moved slightly as she reminded. Sir Lin Ling, be careful. Hearing this, the third princess was the first to worry for Lin Ling, afraid that Lin Ling would not be able to block a single move from Shi. So strong. Is this the most terrifying and mysterious genius of Qing province? Meng Lu felt a rolling pressure. He found that on the other side of the tombstone, the heaven and earth were frozen, forming a mysterious domain. This seemed to be the ultimate martial Dao, and it was a complete Dao. At this moment, Shi made her move. Her soft and boneless palm gently slapped out. The sun, moon, stars, spring, summer, autumn, and winter, the great Tao of the universe seemed to be shattered by her. Above the power of the universe, the rank of bravery. The third princess exclaimed. The power of the universe. That was the power of the chaos of the universe. It was extremely terrifying. However, according to legend, there was another power above it. It was the rank power left behind by the title of God. This power. It was from God. It was extremely terrifying, and could shatter any power of the universe. One was the universe, and the other was God. From another point of view, the power of one's grade was the result of the fusion of the essence of a martial artist's strength and the power of the universe. For example, the power of the universe. This was the power to control the chaos of the universe. But there were millions upon millions of chaos powers in the universe. It was impossible for a martial artist to control all of them. This would instead cause them to be less proficient, which was why there were ranks. For example, if Lin Ling were to comprehend a rank, that would be the rank of fire. A light palm landed on Lin Ling's body, and a yellow light appeared on Lin Ling's body. It was brilliant and ancient. Of you. Shi spoke at the same time. Not necessarily. However, Lin Ling's words made Shi's beautiful eyes narrow. With her palm, No one in the late stage of the martial immortal realm could block it. But Lin Ling blocked it? Lin Ling was only at the first stage of the martial immortal realm. How could this be? Then, she found that there was a yellow light on Lin Ling's body. It was extremely ancient, and seemed to be condensed by millions of Emperor Qi. Emperor Qi was also a kind of son of heaven's fate. It had the power of the emperor. So you have a secret treasure on you. Shifei suddenly thought of something. She kept waving her arms like a blooming flower. Bang! Bang! Palm after palm, mixed with the great Tao of the universe, fell on Lin Ling's body. Your Excellency Lin Ling! That terrifying killing move caused the third princess and the others to shout out loud. However, after shouting, they found that Lin Ling was still safe and sound. Instead, he smiled and said, Shifei? The #1 beauty in Qingzhou? If you touch me like this, I'll sue you for taking advantage of me. As soon as his voice fell, everyone was flabbergasted. Facing such a terrifying attack from Shifei, Lin Ling could still joke? Even Shifei clenched her teeth. Even the Azure Emperor did not dare to joke with her. But Lin Ling dared? The effect of the treasure on you is starting to weaken. Let's see how you block it. Shifei's eyes became ferocious, and she slapped out again. Indeed, the yellow light on Lin Ling's body dimmed. However, just as Shifei thought that she could kill Lin Ling this time, Lin Ling suddenly disappeared. That's right, in her eyes, he had mysteriously disappeared. This sudden change stunned Shifei. By the time she reacted, Lin Ling was already standing beside the third princess in the distance, holding the essence of the Son of Heaven's fate in his hand, and shaking it gently. Sorry, I won again. The third princess was stunned. Meng Lu was stunned. Even the 76th prince was the same. Lin Ling won. How did he win? Shifei seemed to be in a daze as she stared at Lin Ling, especially the Son of Heaven's fate in Lin Ling's hand. It was swaying as if it was mocking her. Sorry, beating you is really as easy as eating. While she was in a daze, Lin Ling spoke faintly. In fact, in order to avoid Shifei's last attack, Lin Ling had used the green jade token and increased his speed by 50 boundaries. Chapter 2947. The Power of Rank. Who was Shifei? She was someone who had talked to Qing Diyi before. With her strength, she was the strongest person present. Only the leader of the giants in Qing province could fight against her. Originally, all the treasures should have belonged to her, and Lin Ling should have been killed by her. However, she didn't do anything, and could only watch as Lin Ling returned with a full load. Most importantly, after Lin Ling defeated her, he didn't show any joy or excitement. His reaction was very calm, as if defeating her, Shifei, was actually a very simple matter. Lin Ling, you're lucky this time. Next time, I'll definitely kill you. Kill. Holding endless resentment, Shifei also disappeared from the main road. She came to kill Lin Ling, because she was ordered to do so by some expert. At that moment, Lin Ling also sped up because he had noticed the changes in the sky from the very beginning. This made him guess that in the Dragon Palace, the world essence that erupted from the battle between cultivators could alarm the dragon souls. Moreover, the deeper he went, the more dragon souls there were. Thinking of that, he turned around and saw that the third princess and the others had caught up. There were many people at the intersection earlier. The third princess and the others had used those people to attract the dragon souls and escaped. Your Excellency Lin Ling. Looking back, the third princess and the others still had lingering fear in their hearts. Then they looked at Lin Ling and smiled. I didn't expect Lin Ling to be able to defeat Shifei. Truly amazing. Lord Eighth said excitedly. The current Lin Ling was probably even stronger than him. Although he was a middle-stage martial immortal, in terms of talent and ultimate martial path, he wasn't very strong. The reason why he could become one of the giants in Qing province was because of his enormous world essence. In terms of world essence, Lin Ling was obviously not afraid of middle-stage martial immortals. In fact, he was one of the best among them. This made Lord Eighth sigh. The first time he saw Lin Ling in the past was at Lin Ling's market. At that time, Lin Ling was still very young, but now his wings were full. With just a move of his feet in Qing province would change. I didn't expect the four most mysterious people of the 9 heavens of Qing province to be so powerful. Meng Lu, on the other hand, was recalling the scene of Shi Fei's attack. His expression was solemn as he said, "Rank. This is the fusion of the power of the universe and one's innate talent. There are no more than 5 people in Qing province who have grasped this power, and Shi Fei is the youngest one." That's right. I've seen Shi Fei before. She gave me a very mysterious feeling. I didn't expect her to have the power of a rank. The third princess also said, "From what I see, she's only powerful in terms of rank strength. Her talent isn't even at the desolate body level. If you can sense rank strength, she's only SOSO," Lin Ling said with a smile. What he said was very simple. However, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. They didn't think it was simple, because rank strength was the foundation of fighting those of a higher level. Shi Fei might even be able to defeat an ordinary 9th stage martial immortal. Rank strength isn't as mysterious as you say. In the 9 provinces, there are many people who possess this power. Lin Ling recalled Li Xiaoyao's time. At that time, he had swept through the geniuses of the 9 provinces, and was called the most mysterious genius in the universe by the 9 provinces. Therefore, he didn't think that possessing rank strength was that amazing. He, Lin Ling, had only cultivated for a short period of time. If he was given some more time, he would also be able to comprehend the rank of the fire element. Furthermore, he was still very weak in the past. After reaching the martial immortal realm, the arrogance of Li Xiaorao of the past had quietly awakened. Wake Dragon Palace, we can only move forward and not retreat. That's because retreating will attract even more dragon souls. Everyone, let's continue forward. Third princess, take out the treasures you obtained earlier. I, Lin Ling, want to be the first to choose. Lin Ling looked at the third princess and said. The third princess smiled and nodded. Your Excellency Lin Ling, these treasures were obtained by you alone. There's no problem for you to take all of them. There's no need for that. After all, not all treasures are useful to me. For example, the Son of Heaven's mandate. Lin Ling waved his hand and said, Third princess, you've obtained quite a few Son of Heaven's mandates. Perhaps the Imperial Jade Seal fragments that you possess will also change. Furthermore, in this trip to the Wake Dragon Palace, there are definitely quite a few people who have obtained great fortune. After everyone leaves, the Azure Province will definitely be in turmoil. Your Excellency Lin Ling, you're right. Hearing that, the third princess's expression became serious. There were so many paths to the Wake Dragon Palace. The others must have also obtained great treasures. Perhaps, a new 9 great heavens would be born. However, the Wake Dragon Palace is also the end. With everyone's strength, I'm afraid that we won't be able to enter the 5th level of the 8 gods' heavenly palace. Lin Ling said again. Is this the end of our journey? Regarding this, Meng Lu and the others were somewhat dissatisfied. However, they were extremely confident in Lin Ling's words. Therefore, they could only give up on exploring. As for Lin Ling, he was searching for treasures. Unfortunately, although there were many treasures here, they were not of much help to Lin Ling. They could not even compare to the 3 jade tokens from before. Unfortunately, there was only 1 jade token left. Chapter 2948. The Power of a Glance. Sakura had a tyrannical personality and was decisive in killing, but he never bullied the weak. When he saw someone who wasn't strong enough, he would definitely draw his blade to help. Thank you. Thank you. Those few women couldn't help but be overjoyed, and their speed also increased by a bit. Sakura passed by them, and transformed into a huge white skeleton to fight against the dragon souls in the sky. Sakura, I'll help you. Seeing this, Lord Eighth and Meng Lu also joined the battlefield, erupting with all their strength to resist the several blood dragons in the sky. And these dragon souls were extremely powerful, not fearing any realm essence attacks. If they wanted to resist, they could only resist with their lives. Fortunately, we met them, otherwise we're dead for sure. These dragon souls are too terrifying, we can't kill them at all. Stop the dragon souls, don't let them come over. And seeing Sakura and the rest desperately block the dragon souls, The beautiful woman in the upper position also slowed down. While recovering her realm essence, she kept saying, "Ka ka ka." Sakura was blocking the dragon's soul at the forefront. His white skeleton was also cracked from the impact, but he was still blocking the front of the road like a war god. As for Meng Lu and Lord Eighth, their faces also started to pale, resisting with great difficulty. "Stop the dragon souls. Who told you to retreat step by step? If the dragon souls come over, we'll all die." Seeing Sakura and the rest constantly retreating, the three women all frowned and said, "What trash?" One of the women even cursed softly. Although this voice was soft, it was clearly heard by Lin Ling, and his face immediately became ugly. His big brother tried his best to help others, but not only were these three women not grateful, they even despised Sakura for being trash. Could it be that his big brother owed them? "Big brother, ignore those dragon souls, come over immediately." Lin Ling's eyes turned cold as he shouted to the front. "What are you doing? If they retreat, those dragon souls will rush over." Hearing Lin Ling's words, one of the tall women immediately reprimanded. "If they don't retreat, they'll be in danger." Killing intent appeared in the depths of Lin Ling's eyes as he coldly replied, "Facing the dragon soul is dangerous to begin with. Do you think Awakening Dragon Palace is your home? If you want to be safe, you can just hide at home. Why do you have to come out and roam the world? Moreover, in a martial artist's life, they have to cut through all kinds of hardships. If they fear danger, what is the point of talking about martial arts? If they retire, are they still men?" She looked at Lin Ling mockingly and said, "I can see that you are also a man. Unfortunately, they are much more courageous than you. You only dare to hide behind them and gossip. How ugly! What nonsense are you talking about?" As soon as the woman finished speaking, the third princess couldn't help but speak up. These three women were too self-righteous. Obviously, they were the ones who provoked the dragon soul, but now they were blaming it on Sakura. He was kind enough to help, but the three of them actually disliked him. Could it be that Sakura must help them? "You are? Third princess?" Only then did the three women realize that the person beside them was the third princess. Their expressions changed slightly. Then, they smiled because they knew that the third princess, the daughter of Emperor Qing, was extremely powerful. "Third princess, it's good that you're here. Please block those dragon souls. Those three men are too useless. They're completely useless." "No need, I'll do it." But at this moment, Lin Ling coldly spat out a sentence. You're too weak." However, the three women didn't put Lin Ling in their eyes at all. Their words were filled with disdain. "Don't underestimate him. He's Lin Ling of the imperial court." The third princess didn't want Lin Ling to be looked down upon, so she spoke coldly. Her words stunned the three women on the spot. Then they laughed. "Lin Ling of the 9 heavens of Qingzhou. So you're Lin Ling. That's great. With you around, there will definitely be a way." They didn't expect to meet these legendary powerhouses at the end of their road. One of the petite women even said happily, "Lin Ling, among the 9 heavens of Qingzhou, I admire you the most." Hearing those words, Lin Ling sneered. He didn't say anything and stepped forward. "Big brother, 8th Lord Meng Lu, step back. I'll block these dragon souls." His voice floated out, causing Sakura and the others to frown. They seemed to be worried about Lin Ling fighting the blood dragons alone. "Don't you believe me?" Seeing Sakura and the others, Lin Ling's heart warmed. Sure enough, his own people were still trustworthy. "Alright, second brother, be careful. Lin Ling, if you can't block them, we'll immediately come to help. Now let's recover our Jieyuan." Sakura and Meng Lu pondered for a moment, and spoke one after another. Right now, they were indeed exhausted. The three of them hurriedly retreated, allowing Lin Ling to block the blood dragons in the sky alone. "Wake up, Dragon Palace, is the dragon god here?" Lin Ling walked past Sakura and the others. His blue robe fluttered, his hands behind his back, and he looked indifferently at the huge blood dragons in the sky. Roar! The blood dragons in the sky didn't answer his words. Instead, they roared continuously, causing the sound of thunder to come from afar. The wind and clouds rolled, and the aura of destruction came like a wave. More and more blood dragons rushed over, hovering in the sky as if they wanted to devour everything. Seeing this scene, Everyone's expression changed drastically. There were actually more dragon souls? Why is it like this? Lin Ling must have attracted more dragon souls. I've long felt that we shouldn't trust Lin Ling. He can't fight against the dragon souls at all. Yeah, he wants us to be buried with him. I don't want to die here. The three women were also shocked and almost wanted to escape. However, there were too many dragon souls in the sky. They didn't want to be noticed by the dragon souls, so they didn't dare to act rashly for the time being. However, if the dragon souls swooped down from the sky, they would definitely be the first to escape and let the third princess and the others attract the dragon soul's attention. For a moment, they looked at each other and tacitly had the same idea. Lin Ling, be careful. Everyone go help him. The third princess didn't know what they were thinking at all. At this moment, she was worried and shouted. Sakura and the others had just sat down cross-legged to recover. At this moment, they stood up again and prepared to help Lin Ling. However, at this moment, Lin Ling's cold pupils finally changed. A powerful soul force spread out like an ocean. At this moment, he seemed to have transformed into a dragon god, with an imposing aura that looked down on the world. Die! Everyone heard that calm voice. Bang bang bang. In the sky, the rolling dragon souls began to explode. One by one, the ancient dragons exploded. Blood light illuminated the sky, then turned into dust and scattered from the sky. All the dragon souls were annihilated. This was just the power of a gaze. At the back, the third princess and the others maintained their charging posture. But at this moment, they all stopped in their tracks. Their faces were filled with horror. Chapter 2949. An ant should have the awareness of an ant. Dragon soul. It was the taboo of the Resuscitate Dragon Palace. Even the leader of the magnates would not dare to fight it head-on. However, Lin Ling killed it with a single blow. This was too perverted. These dragon souls are actually the descendants of the Resuscitate Dragon God. They were buried here with him. Although the dragon's body is dead, the dragon's soul is still here. With the help of the mysterious star plants, the dragon's soul is nourished. They are also the tomb keepers of the Dragon Palace. Under everyone's shocked gaze, Lin Ling walked back calmly and said, The only thing they are afraid of is soul power. Master, you are so powerful. Hearing this, the third princess's eyes were filled with admiration. Among the four magnates, only Lin Ling was the calmest. I have said that I have no intention of accepting you as my disciple, Lin Ling said with a smile. However, his gaze was extremely cold as he looked at the three ladies. Lin Ling, thank you, thank you. The three ladies did not know that death was upon them. They were still rejoicing that they had escaped death. No need. If you want to thank someone, thank King Yanluo. Lin Ling's lips curled into a cold smile. He extended his right hand and flicked his finger. A wisp of flame shot out like an arrow and landed on one of the ladies, burning her. Lin Ling, what are you doing? The lady immediately cried out in pain. Unfortunately, she could not withstand Lin Ling's blow and was burned alive. The other two ladies' faces changed and were filled with anger. The three of them had roamed the 10,000 worlds and were very close to each other. However, the eldest sister died here. Because you wanted to kill my brothers and friends, Lin Ling said coldly. The two ladies clenched their teeth, and their eyes were filled with killing intent. I know that you want to kill me, but you don't have the strength to do so. Also, my big brother and the others don't owe you anything. They helped you, so you should be grateful. Don't blame them, and even plan to push the trouble to others. I hate people like this the most. So I can help you deal with the dragon soul. But you all have to die. Plop. Hearing Lin Ling's words, the two women were completely terrified and hurriedly knelt down. Lord Lin Ling, please spare our lives. We are willing to be your slaves and serve you for the rest of our lives. Their beauty was not bad, and coupled with their strength, they were already used to others sacrificing their lives for them. They even thought that all of this was a matter of course. However, when they met Lin Ling didn't care about their beauty at all. He only treated them like ants. As for helping an ant, Lin Ling wouldn't care if it was as easy as lifting a finger. However, an ant must have the awareness of an ant. Second brother, They are just weak girls. How about sparing their lives? Sakura was soft-hearted and couldn't help but say, Big brother, some people are worth helping. Even if we use our lives to help, we won't regret it. However, some people aren't worth it. If all of you had died in the mouth of the dragon soul, would they have sympathized with you? I guess not. They only have themselves in their eyes, as if it's a matter of course for others to help. Lin Ling looked at Sakura and said, although his big brother was decisive in killing, his temperament was too straightforward. To put it bluntly, he was also ignorant. But Sakura looked at the two women who were crying, and his heart still softened. Don't worry. You can't do it, but I can. In my eyes, it's fine as long as all of you are fine. Lin Ling shook his head. He knew that it was time for him to be the villain. In the future, if he, Lin Ling, wanted to kill someone, but he couldn't do it, he believed that his brother would also help him. The world of martial arts is cruel. No one owes anyone anything. When others help you, you should be grateful. Don't think that you are infallible. Because you are just ants. Lin Ling looked at the two women again. With a flick of his finger, surging flames shot out. Lord Lin Ling, please spare our lives. Sorry. We were wrong. Yes. The two women kept crying for help, but they were still mercilessly burned by the flames of time and space. In the end, they were turned into ashes. What you don't dare to do, I, Lin Ling, will do for you. But if I die in someone's hands in the future, I also hope that you can be like me today, and do those things for me. Yes. After Lin Ling obliterated the two women, he turned around and strode forward. Hearing that, the third princess and the others felt ripples in their hearts. They knew that in Lin Ling's heart, only his family and friends were everything. What did the masses have to do with him? And for his family and friends, he dared to kill his way up to the 9 heavens. Even if the world called him a demon, he didn't care. Master, wait for me. Yes. Looking at the slender figure, the third princess immediately chased after him. Her heart was somewhat moved. No wonder Grandma Wendao was full of praise for Lin Ling. Because Lin Ling was indeed a friend worthy of deep friendship. The group continued forward and finally reached the crossroads. Lin Ling pointed out the path in front of them. Then, he walked on another path. Lin Ling, we'll wait for you in Qingzhou. Come back as soon as possible. Looking at Lin Ling's disappearing figure, the third princess and the others waved their hands and said, Don't worry, I'll be back. An indistinct voice could be heard from the misty road. Everyone nodded and chose a small path one after another, slowly walking forward. The path that Lin Ling took was obviously different. It was the main path to the main tomb. This path was undoubtedly extremely dangerous. But the benefits were also the greatest in the entire Wake-Up Dragon Palace. Because there were Dragon God Vitality pills here. Once this treasure was taken by Lin Ling's fourth Dantian would also have a talent. And it was the Dragon God talent. Going straight to the main tomb. This path must be extraordinary. Little Kunlun, prepare for a fierce battle. Lin Ling's long robe was fluttering, and his eyes were filled with fighting spirit. Ka. After walking for an unknown period of time, the ground in front of them began to wriggle like a snake. Lin Ling was walking on the snake's body. What a strong vibration force. Sensing this, Lin Ling leaped up and exploded with his full speed. He shot forward at the speed of 20 worlds. At the same time, he realized that he was actually walking on the spine of a dragon. It was just a dead dragon. It was extremely magical. Ka. But the further he went, the ground began to rumble. Soil was splattered everywhere. Then white skeletons crawled out. These skeletons were the skeletons in the sacrificial trench. When they were alive, they were indomitable experts. This path is indeed extraordinary. Lin Ling's expression became more serious as he roared. The realm-swallowing beast appeared and turned into a ferocious fist, attacking ahead. Rumble. Under that fist, a few white skeletons were smashed to pieces. But what surprised Lin Ling was that the pieces gathered again and turned into white skeletons. They were actually immortal and indestructible. These white skeletons were probably experts in the half-step saint realm when they were alive. Lin Ling was shocked, but his fighting spirit was even more intense. Again, You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.